This innate spiritual beast must also be an incredibly formidable living creature. He had not expected that after one night of sleep, both little ones would gain such great benefits. Compared to that, his hard work cultivating half a day to break through to the great achievement of the muscle bone realm seemed rather ordinary. Brother, what's wrong? Does little Yin have rice on her face? Seeing Lu Qing staring blankly at her, little Yin, not understanding, touched her own face and asked, "There's nothing." Brother was just thinking, "Keep eating." Lu Qing came back to his senses and smiled. At the same time, he also took it seriously in his heart. The better the talents of the two little ones, the more he could not relax in his cultivation of them in the future. Otherwise, he would waste such a good opportunity. Little Yin, seeing everything was all right, buried her head and started eating again. At that moment, Lu Qing felt something tugging at his trouser leg a few times. Looking down, he saw Little Li sitting in front of him. "What's wrong, Little Li?" Lu Qing asked. Little Li pointed at her food bowl with a little paw. Lu Qing looked over only to see it empty. "You finished that quickly?" Lu Qing was surprised. He had given Little Li the usual amount of fish, which normally took her quite a while to eat. Could it be that after absorbing the primordial chi white mist, her appetite had also grown? "Little Li, are you still hungry?" Little Li nodded her head. "Then I'll go get you some more." It seemed her appetite really had increased. Lu Qing got up and walked to the kitchen. It was only when he reached the kitchen that he realized there were only a few fish left in the tank, not enough to make up many little fish. Because he had been focused on cultivation these past few days as well as looking forward to his master's breakthrough, Lu Qing had not gone fishing. As a result, the fish in the house had been nearly eaten up. Lu Qing scooped up the remaining few little fish and brought them to Little Li. "Little Li, this is all the fish we have left. Will it be enough for you?" Little Li looked at the several little fish jumping around in the basin, then at Lu Qing, and moisture began to form in her big eyes. Stop. I get it. I'll go fishing for you in a bit. Don't cry, okay?" Seeing her like this, Lu Qing immediately shouted. The moisture in Little Li's eyes slowly began to dissipate. "Brother, has Little Li finished all her fishy?" asked Little Yin. "Yep, brother hasn't had the time to go fishing these past few days, and we've eaten all the fish at home." Little Li's eyes began to well up again upon hearing this. "Little Li, be good. We can go fishing with brother later, then you can eat the freshest fishy." Little Yin stroked Little Li's back to comfort her. Upon hearing this, Little Li immediately looked up at Lu Qing. Lu Qing nodded directly, "Sure, let's go fishing together." After all, Little Li had the invisibility talent, so there was no worry about her being seen. She had also followed them on a few fishing trips before. Seeing that Lu Qing agreed, the little black beast perked up immediately, with its tail raised high. She really enjoyed going fishing with Lu Qing. In her eyes, Lu Qing's ability to constantly pull those fish from the water with a bamboo rod, fish that she could only watch but not catch, was something magical and impressive. Knowing that they would go out to play later, Little Yin quickly increased her eating speed. With a few gulps, she polished off the rice in her bowl. "Brother, I'm full. Can we go fishing now?" "Wait a sec, let me wash the bowls first." Lu Qing shook his head, gathered the dishes into the kitchen, washed them, and put them away before he went to get the fishing gear. Fishing rods, creels, landing nets, bait. After everything was prepared, the two little ones were already waiting obediently by the side. Little Yin was carrying a little bamboo basket on her back. That was something Lu Qing had asked a villager skilled in bamboo weaving to help make. The little one often followed him around, including on fishing trips. She needed her own basket to carry her little trinkets, like small toys. "Brother, I can help you carry some." Little Yin stepped forward, skillfully took the bamboo tube with earthworms, and hung it around her neck. "Find your next adventure on my virtual library empire." She then shouldered the landing net, and, with a proud and imposing gesture, pointed forward. "Let's go." Then, she charged ahead. Lu Qing watched, amused, locked the door behind him, and followed her out. As for Little Li, she had already entered her invisibility mode and hopped into Little Yan's basket. After all, Little Yan's physical condition was very good now. This little weight was no problem for her. In the village, Little Yan ran ahead while Lu Qing followed at an easy pace. When the villagers saw them, they immediately understood what was going on. "Ah Qing, going fishing again?" a villager asked. "Yep, just going to cast a few lines when there's nothing else to do." Lu Qing nodded. "I really don't understand why you like fishing so much. Don't you get sick of eating so much fish?" The villager did not understand. They often saw Lu Qing going fishing, and he always had a good catch. If it were them, eating fish every day, they would have long grown tired of it. It's okay to taste fish occasionally, but eating it every day, how could they stand the fishy taste? It's all right. It's my one hobby, and I also like eating fish. Plus, my master likes to have fried little fish with his drinks, Lu Qing said with a smile. He couldn't exactly say that there was a major fish lover in the house who devoured fish like it was her life. Fried in oil, huh? That must taste so good. No wonder the elder doctor likes it. The villagers' eyes immediately widened. They couldn't even begin to imagine how delicious fried little fish must taste. Unfortunately, oil wasn't cheap, and even if they knew how to make it, they wouldn't dare to use that much. It's pretty nice. If you have time, you're welcome to try it at my place. Haha, then I really should give it a try when I have the chance. After chatting with a few villagers, Lu Qing left with little Yin, heading to the riverbank outside the village entrance. His first stop was the miracle fish fishing spot. This had become a habit for Lu Qing. Every time he went out fishing, he would spend some time at this spot, hoping to catch another strange fish. After all, he had promised little Lee that he would let her taste the flavor of strange fish again. Unfortunately, after catching those 2 golden loaches, he had never managed to catch another strange fish again. Previously, Lu Qing had marveled at how unexpectedly plentiful strange fish were in the river outside the village. Now, it seemed it wasn't that the river was full of strange fish, but rather that he was still in the newbie protection period when he first came to this world, which allowed him to continuously catch them. Now that the newbie protection period had passed, not to mention strange fish, even the scales of the strange fish were no longer to be found on his hook. Lu Qing had also tried looking in other river sections to see if he could find another miracle fish fishing spot. But he had walked 10 miles up and down the river outside the village and still hadn't found another spot where strange fish appeared. There were primary fishing points, but the information displayed did not mention any strange fish. In the end, Lu Qing concluded that there was probably only that one miracle fish fishing spot in the river outside the village. As for the reason, it must be the few blood apricot trees by the bank of the fishing spot. That was the fundamental reason that attracted the strange fish. However, Lu Qing had never figured out the origin of the blood apricot trees. He had even picked some blood apricots for his master, but his master also did not recognize the fruit. Only after testing its medicinal properties did he find it to be a very good medicinal herb. As for why it could attract strange fish, that was also unclear. Sitting in front of the fishing spot, Lu Qing skillfully hung 2 blood apricots on the hook, then cast them into the water. During this period, Lu Qing had upgraded his fishing rod once again. Aside from still using snow silkworm silk for the fishing line, the rod and hook had both been replaced, especially the hook, which he had recently asked Ma Gu to order for him in the city at the blacksmith shop and had cost a fair amount. 10 hooks had cost him 10 pieces of silver, 1 for each hook. If you really calculated by weight, a hook was even more precious than an equivalent amount of gold. Initially, when Ma Gu heard the price of the hooks, he was shocked, and his look at Lu Qing was somewhat odd. He hadn't expected that Lu Qing had such an extravagant hobby, spending so much on just a few hooks. Of course, Lu Qing didn't care about what Ma Gu thought. He wasn't short of money now, not to mention the silver he had received from Happy Village. There was also a large amount of gold and silver at his master's that they didn't know how to deal with. Spending a bit of silver to order a few hooks was nothing to him. Besides, you get what you pay for. The hooks made by the great blacksmith indeed had really good quality. Their toughness was almost comparable to his war saber, not to mention being used for fishing. They were more than enough for use as exotic weapons. After casting the hook into the water, Lu Qing began patiently waiting. Little Lee then appeared, squatting beside him and staring intently at the float. As for little Yin, she had already taken out her toys from her little basket. She knew that just like her brother, whenever little Lee came to the river, he would be engrossed in fishing and wouldn't play with her, so she simply entertained herself. Watching little Lee's serious demeanor, Lu Qing felt amused. The little guy really had the potential to become a little fisherman. If it weren't for the fact that its paws weren't good at grasping things, he would have made a small fishing rod for it to play with. The hook had been in the water for quite a while and there was still no movement. Lu Qing had long grown accustomed to this. He even suspected that there might no longer be any strange fish in the river. The reason he still came each time was merely out of habit, and from a slight feeling of what if there is still one inside his heart. After a while, seeing that the float still hadn't moved, Lu Qing was about to reel in his line and move to another fishing spot to catch ordinary fish. This spot had been fished by him quite a few times before, and there weren't many fish left below. It needed some time to recover. Just as Lu Qing reached out to reel in his line, the next moment, the float that had been quietly stationary on the water's surface suddenly quivered and then violently plunged toward the bottom. Good heavens, another sneak attack. Lu Qing instantly gripped the fishing rod. Your journey continues on my virtual library empire at the same time. Little Li's eyes instantly bulged round. Seeing a fish suddenly pull on the line, Lu Qing was actually not surprised. This otherworld's fish liked to launch sneak attacks, and he had long since gotten used to it. What excited him was that this time, he had baited the hook with blood apricots. Normally, only strange fish showed interest in eating these. Ordinary fish seemed to mostly ignore them. Feeling the strong pull coming from the rod, Lu Qing could almost be certain that the one on the hook this time was definitely a strange fish. Apart from big green armored fish, none of the other ordinary fish in the river possessed such an exaggerated strength. Little Li couldn't keep calm at this point either, pacing anxiously by Lu Qing's side, nearly beside herself with wanting to help him pull the rod in. Little Li, don't worry, the fish won't get away. Lu Qing soothed the little black beast, while he himself held the fishing rod steadily in his hand. With his current martial arts prowess, it was naturally impossible for him to be pulled off balance by a fish like he used to be. Hearing Lu Qing's words, Little Li finally calmed down a bit and sat down by the shore. But its eyes remained fixed on the water surface, and its tail swished restlessly, betraying its inner turmoil. Lu Qing, holding the fishing rod, started to walk the fish. He was now a martial arts expert at the great success of the musclebone realm, and his saber technique realm was even at the grandmaster level, having comprehended the harmony of strength and gentleness in great detail. This was coupled with the much upgraded fishing rod. With his strength, walking the fish was almost too easy. In no time, a fish with a faint golden color, with a soft and slender body, was pulled up by Lu Qing. Awo was seeing the fish being pulled up. Little Li immediately got excited. Circling around Lu Qing's feet, it kept making excited noises. Brother, this fish is so pretty. Little Yin, who had been playing on her own under a tree behind, heard the commotion and ran over too. Don't rush, Little Li, let me see what fish this is first, then I'll give it to you to eat. Lu Qing unhooked the fish and waited. The fish wasn't heavy, weighing just over 2 pounds, but its strength was definitely not small. When Lu Qing was walking it, he found that its strength was even greater than the red moon carp he had caught before. If his fishing rod hadn't been upgraded, it would have been doubtful whether he could have pulled it in. The most obvious feature of this fish was the 2 long barbels hanging from the corners of its mouth, almost half as long as its body. Its body was covered in scales with a faint golden hue, which looked very attractive under the sunlight. Holding the fish before him, Lu Qing used his superpower to quietly examine it. Soon, a half-red, half-white superpower light emerged from the body of the fish. Dragon whisker fish, strange fish, clad in golden scale armor, possesses astonishing strength and swims with incredible speed. Contains spiritual charm, flesh is tender and nourishing, a true yang element. It is said that there is a trace of Zhaolong bloodline in the dragon whisker fish, hence its flesh is full of yang energy, and it is highly nourishing. Dragon whisker fish? Lu Qing looked curiously at the strange fish in his hand. According to the description, this creature should be more suitable for males to consume. Would there be a problem if Little Li ate it? However, seeing Little Li's eager eyes fixed on him, Lu Qing knew if he didn't let it eat, the little one would probably cry on the spot. But Lu Qing thought that a spiritual beast like Little Li already possessed a very special, magical intuition. It could easily differentiate what was beneficial or harmful to it. Since it so longed for this strange fish, it probably meant that it was quite beneficial for it. After some thought, Lu Qing decisively tossed the fish to Little Li. All right, Little Li, this strange fish is for you. Always staring intently at the strange fish in Lu Qing's hand, Little Li was overjoyed. It pounced on the fish, caught it, and took it to a clean patch of grass nearby to eat voraciously. With every bite, it blissfully squinted its eyes, and the tip of its tail waggled happily. Seeing it eat so joyfully, Lu Qing also became relieved. He baited the hook with 2 more blood apricots and cast it into the water again. Though he thought the chances were slim, he still wanted to see if he could catch another strange fish. Not long afterward, having finished the fish, Little Li, completely satisfied, licked its paws a while, then sat down next to Lu Qing again, expectantly watching the water surface. Both the person and the little beast had the same wish to catch another strange fish. But this time, they were destined to be disappointed. After a long wait and seeing no movement from the float, Luqing knew this time's strange fish was the only one. Catching another one was no longer possible. However, Luqing had figured out a pattern. Clearly, the key to attracting strange fish to this spot was the blood apricot trees nearby. As long as there were blood apricot trees, there would always be strange fish attracted after a certain interval of time. So if Little Lee wanted to eat strange fish again, it would have to wait a while. Luqing shared his suspicion with
Okay, sorry about that. I didn't see you was there. So what I was doing is I was checking out a website for leveling, like where's like good camps and stuff like that to level up. I was checking that out. So I didn't see you post a message just now. So my bad. So from what I'm seeing here, so I'm level 26 at the moment. So what I'm seeing here is the jungle right outside of Chasm, but I'm not exactly sure. Yeah, it's the one on Wikipedia. Horizon 11 wiki leveling camps. So I'm looking at it here, and it says that there's a camp from 26 to 30. Killing the lizards and the coral. So I'm checking out that. I'm guessing we can probably go there and try there. Though it might be a trek, because if we outpost warp there, we'll it says, well, it's showing that it's way over it, right outside Chasm, but I'm pretty sure you can do it like right outside the Sea of Serpent cave, right where the waterfall is, right before going into the Sea of Serpent. I'm guessing there. So I'm gonna start forming up a party. So just I'm guessing that the level sync is gonna be. I'm guessing the level sync will be 26. Oof, excuse me. Say it might be 26. Is it raining? It's not like it. Yeah, there is a beetle camp, but the beetle camp, it says right here that the beetle camp is only good for 25 to 27. So only those two levels. So it wouldn't, it wouldn't be all that great. So from what I see, when I was looking up party list, oh my gosh, the white mage is gone. Shit. Somebody grabbed the white mage. Damn. So from what I'm seeing is I'm 26. My level is 26, and that's the lowest level right now that's seeking. So I'm guessing the level camp is gonna be. Well, that is if there was a level 20, like early 20s looking, but there's no early level 20s looking. Like you can see, this is 28, 26, 27, 27, 30. And there's no healers looking right now. Oh, there goes the ninja. Somebody grab the ninja. Eh. Right. Oh, I completely screwed that up. Let me see. Okay. There we go. Now we can show the 20. So we probably can, but I don't see a healer, and I don't know if someone is gonna want to heal. Okay, let's try forming a party. Wait, what? So you said you what classes you have at what levels again? What jobs, I mean, that you had at what levels? Let's see. Okay, okay. So you have no level early 20s. So that is if... So what... Yeah, I have a level 50 something summoner, but I honestly, I don't feel like healing right now. I just want to like lay back and do some fighting, like do some DPS. That's what I feel like doing right now. But which job were you thinking of leveling? Okay. Okay. So, I wonder if Summoner can be the healer, but because I don't know, because I think because when you have White Mage as sub, you get Cure 2 at level 11, so that Cure 2 is a level 11, so I'm guessing, because when it's sub, it's gonna be level Cure 2 11, yeah. So it's gonna be level 22, and if we get the Summoner as the healer, the Summoner will not be able to use Cure 2, because unless we forget about the level 20 and just go straight to 22, seek the 22s. Is that 20 or 80? What is that? Is that 28? Okay, that looks like 28. We got a White Mage. Okay, let's see if we can form a party. Okay, I send an invite. So we'll probably do a level 20. Probably go down to level 20. Should I get the bird or the black mage? Yo yo. Okay, let's see if we can get the white mage first. So black mage or bird? Which do you think? Which do you think? Okay, okay. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Hmm? Amadeus, where'd you go? Did you leave the party? Did you, what happened? Okay. I'm not sure if you're still listening to the stream. Uh, will you be coming back? Hopefully you come back in time. I don't know if you can hear me or not. But yeah, hopefully you come back in time, because I wouldn't want everybody to get mad waiting for too long. Mm. Okay, so it looked like some of these party members might take a little while to get here. So I'm gonna wait and see when they're close by. Hopefully you come back in time. Amadeus. Come on. Come on, Amadeus. Come on. Come on. Ooh. Yeah, I may have to, because the healer is almost here. The full party's, well, the party's almost here, so I may have to replace you, bro. It sucks. I wish we could level up together, but I don't want the people to be waiting too long. Oh, come on. Oh. Oh, great. Come on, what's going on with this tank?
With Little Lee, and instead of feeling disappointed, Little Lee was happy. Experienced new tales on my virtual library empire because it meant that after some time, it would get to eat its favorite strange fish again, something it had never even dared dream of before. After confirming that they couldn't catch a second strange fish, Lu Qing, along with Little Yin and Little Li, moved to another fishing spot. It was a new spot he had discovered a few days earlier, a bit far, but plentiful with fish, and he had no concerns about making a catch. At the new spot, Lu Qing reeled in constantly, allowing Little Li to eat its fill until it was round-bellied before stopping to feed it and putting the fish in a bucket. After its feast, Little Li did not cling to Lu Qing and went off to play with Little Yin. After Little Li, the major fish consumer, was no longer beside him, Lu Qing's fish storing efficiency also began to increase. It didn't take long before there were over a dozen large fish of more than 2 pounds in the fish basket, and as for the small fish, there were almost half a bucket of them. Swoosh! Another small fish was flung into midair, and Lu Qing picked it off and tossed it into the bucket, feeling a wave of satisfaction and comfort. Lately, he had been busy with cultivation, and occasionally fishing like he was doing now was a great way to relax. The path of cultivation also needed controlled relaxation. Exclusively harsh cultivation sometimes would make one too tense, which could easily lead to problems. Roar! Just as Lu Qing was immersed in the relaxation of fishing, suddenly, Little Li appeared before him and called out somewhat solemnly. "You're saying someone is coming?" Lu Qing's expression turned serious. Having been with Little Li for so long, their tacit understanding was exceedingly high. He could essentially discern the meaning behind Little Li's expressions and movements. If it had been a villager approaching, Little Li would definitely not act like this. It had to be someone from outside the village, and not just any ordinary person, for Little Li to be so cautious. Could it be that a foreign martial artist was approaching? A thought flashed through Lu Qing's mind. "Little Li, where are the people now?" Little Li pointed a tiny claw in a direction. "Are there many people?" Little Li nodded. Lu Qing did not hesitate. First, he instructed Little Li, then called out to Little Yin, who was not far away. "Little Yin, come here quick." "What's the matter, big brother?" Little Yin ran over briskly. As for Little Li, it had already entered its invisibility state, hiding somewhere unknown. "Stay connected via my virtual library empire, it's nothing. Let's pack up and get ready to go home." Lu Qing rubbed her head. "Okay," Little Yin obediently agreed. Lu Qing quickly gathered their belongings, then carrying the items and holding Little Yin, they swiftly departed. With Little Li's special sensing capabilities, they didn't encounter anyone along the way and smoothly returned to the village. After returning to the village, he didn't put Little Yin at home, but carried her directly to Half Mountain's small courtyard. After speaking with his master, Lu Qing then left Half Mountain's small courtyard with Little Li. With so many martial artists suddenly appearing near the village, he had to clarify the situation. "Little Li, can you sense those people now?" Having strapped the war saber on his back and reaching the village entrance, Lu Qing tied a red rope on the letter tree and asked. Little Li shook its head. Its special sensing had a range, and beyond a certain distance, it could no longer sense anything. Lu Qing began to ponder. Since those people weren't near the village, it meant they weren't directly targeting the village. What were they heading towards? The market. As this question emerged, Lu Qing already had the answer in his mind. Only a place like that could draw so many martial artists into action. Could Mrs. Wei and the others have been exposed? Lu Qing wasn't sure, but he knew that he had to find out quickly. Tightening the war saber strapped to his back, Lu Qing's gaze turned towards the market direction, striding toward it. Today wasn't a market day, and villagers seldom left the village. So along the way, Lu Qing didn't encounter anyone. How just when he was about to reach the market, Little Li, invisible on his shoulder, suddenly tugged at his hair with its claw. "You're saying the martial artists are up ahead?" Lu Qing's heart became alert, knowing he had guessed right. Those people were indeed heading for the market. It seemed like Mrs. Wei and the others had been exposed, but why exactly that happened was still a mystery. After all, Ma Gu wasn't supposed to be so careless. With his doubts, Lu Qing concealed his entire aura as he quietly moved forward. With his mastery in saber techniques, if he chose to, by completely suppressing his chi blood, even inner realm experts couldn't sense him unless they were within 3 steps. Lu Qing quietly advanced and soon heard a voice. "Mr. Fong, what kind of wind blew you here to visit my small market with so many people?" Lu Qing recognized the voice as Ma Gu's. He felt a surge in his heart, sensing that the situation might not be as he had thought. The voice came from the direction of Ma Gu's house, so Lu Qing approached nearby. Silently, he positioned himself atop a large tree and looked down. He saw 2 groups confronting each other in front of the house. One group was Ma Gu with Xiao Tian and 7 or 8 subordinates. The other group stood with over 20 people, nearly half of whom were martial artists by their aura. The leader was a tall, broad man with long arms and legs, and a scar on his side face, exuding a fierce and formidable aura. Judging by the numbers, Magu's side was at an absolute disadvantage, not to mention in terms of the number of martial artists. Haha. Before Lu Qing had a chance to use his superpower to check the profiles of these people with a laugh, the leader from the opposite side spoke. He said, "Nothing much. I just came here wanting to seek Brother Ma's advice on a matter. Not long ago, my Black Wolf Gang's 9th master and some brothers mysteriously died in a nearby village. The village itself was burnt to the ground, leaving no trace of their bodies. I wanted to ask Brother Ma if he knows who did this? Black Wolf Gang?" Lu Qing was shocked by these words, immediately focusing intently on the tall man. Soon, a thick white light emerged from his body. Fong De, nicknamed Black Wolf, leader of the Black Wolf Gang, ruthless, merciless, bullies the weak and fears the strong. Cultivation, postnatal muscle bone realm, great success. Indeed, it was the Black Wolf Gang. Lu Qing swept his gaze over the others and found that they were all members of the Black Wolf Gang. Not only was the gang leader Black Wolf there, but most of the other key members were also present. This truly is a coincidence. A chill slowly rose in Lu Qing's eyes. However, he did not act rashly and continued to watch quietly. The sudden arrival of the Black Wolf Gang was indeed strange, and who knew if there were other reasons behind it. Mr. Fong jokes, "I, Magu, have offended the nobles in town and have been thrown into this forsaken place by my clan. I spend my days in the estate, drinking and reveling, barely involving myself in external affairs. I only found out about the fire at Happy Village the next day, and by the time I sent people to investigate, all that was left were ruins. I am not sure what specifically transpired. However, isn't there a rumor in the city that the Wei family is behind this?" On the other side, Magu was shaken by Black Wolf's questioning, but his expression remained unchanged. "Humph, don't try pressuring me with the Wei family. The Wei family is now like a clay figurine crossing a river, barely able to save themselves, and before long, they will likely be exterminated and disappear from Song County." Black Wolf snorted coldly and seethed with anger upon hearing Magu's words. Everyone in the county knew that he had been defeated by the Wei family's Silver Moon Guards in a single move, sustaining serious injuries and losing face. Magu's mention of the Wei family was clearly a jab at him. "You claim you know nothing about what happened at Happy Village, but someone in our gang saw women from Happy Village in your Ma family's textile workshop just 2 days ago. How do you explain that?" Magu was startled inwardly but kept a normal expression on his face. "Is that so? I really wouldn't know. Matters of the family's textile workshop have never been under my control. When I have the chance, I shall inquire with the workshop's manager for you." "Magu, do you take me for a fool?" Black Wolf sneered. "Since people appeared in your Ma family's domain, it's clear that your family cannot be separated from the death of our 9th master and the destruction of Happy Village. Your Ma family must have colluded with the Wei family. I suspect that Wei Xing's wife and child are hidden by your family, and they might even be concealed within this very estate." "Black Wolf, don't spout slander." Magu's face suddenly turned stern as he shouted, "Do you really think my Ma family is easy to bully? You think you can just throw dirt on us as you please? Are you trying to start a war with the Ma family? Aha, start a war? Are you qualified?" Black Wolf laughed in derision, his face full of contempt. "If it were before, I might have given 2 hoots about the Ma family. But now, go back and ask those old folks in your clan if they dare to clash with our Black Wolf Gang?" Magu shuddered. He knew that Black Wolf's words were true. Ever since the Black Wolf Gang had pledged allegiance to those mysterious martial artists, their power had swelled rapidly. If it came to blows, the Ma family stood no chance at all. But he couldn't allow Black Wolf to have his people search the estate. Although Mrs. Wei and her son were hiding in a secret room, the Black Wolf Gang members, fierce and crafty as they were, excelled in stealth and thievery, so it was uncertain whether the secret room would remain undiscovered. Thinking of this, Magu became secretly anxious. He didn't know if Mrs. Wei and her son had heard the commotion outside and escaped through the underground passage in the secret room. The sudden arrival of Black Wolf's people had caught him off guard, leaving him no time to help Mrs. Wei and her son escape. "If you dare not, then step aside." Seeing Magu's troubled expression, Black Wolf's face grew even more smug. He knew that on normal days, despite the apparent respect others showed him, in reality, family scions like Magu did not really hold the Black Wolf Gang in high regard. Seeing Magu's frustrated expression, yet unable to say anything, brought Black Wolf joy as if he were eating snow in June. Brothers, go in and search, leave no stone unturned. Explore more at my virtual library, Empire, Black Wolf commanded, waving his hand to the gang members behind him. Yes, dozens of Black Wolf gang members roared in response, ready to press forward. Wait a minute. Don't know how to appreciate a gesture. Magoo intended to stop them again, but Black Wolf had already erupted in fury, his large fist stirring up a fierce wind as he aimed to punch at Magoo. Black Wolf's punch was tremendously powerful, his whole body's chi blood erupting like a ferocious beast breaking free from its cage, utterly terrifying. Magoo's heart filled with dread. He hadn't expected Black Wolf to strike the moment he said he would. Already with an injured shoulder, not yet fully healed, he did not dare to block Black Wolf's punch, which was full of momentum. Instead, he stamped his foot and quickly retreated backward, dodging the punch. Boom! Black Wolf's punch missed, creating a gust of wind that caused Xiao Tian and the others to turn pale and retreat continuously. Not bad. Black Wolf revealed a hint of surprise in his eyes when he saw Magoo dodge his almost sneak attack punch. However, having already made a move, he was not the type to just let things go. Seeing Magoo retreat, Black Wolf pressed his advantage, stepping forward and launching another punch towards Magoo's chest. This time, Magoo had nowhere to retreat to, as right behind him was the tightly closed door of the house. Seeing Black Wolf's fist almost upon him, Magoo grit his teeth and had no choice but to raise his uninjured right hand, preparing to take the punch head-on. At this moment, Magoo felt immense regret. He had left in a hurry earlier and had not brought his war saber, otherwise he would not have been so passive. Black Wolf's strength was far superior to his. If he took this punch, he feared his right hand would be ruined. Seeing Magoo daring to face his fist, a hint of cruelty flashed in Black Wolf's eyes. Just as he was about to unleash his power and shatter Magoo's arm with a punch, a piercing howl suddenly sounded by his ear. At the same time, a strong sense of crisis rose in his heart, causing a sharp pain at the back of his neck. Black Wolf was shocked, no longer caring about Magoo. He quickly retracted his punch, twisted his body, and punched behind him. Dust filled the air, and a stone the size of a fist was shattered by Black Wolf's punch. The broken pieces shot out swiftly in all directions, and a few unlucky members of the Black Wolf gang who were hit by the debris suffered bleeding head wounds and screamed in pain. However, Black Wolf had no time to care about them. Although his punch had shattered the attacking rock, his arm also violently shook, and his fist was in pain, already bloodied. The force contained within the stone was shockingly strong, no less than a full force punch from him. Who is it? Black Wolf was greatly alarmed and looked toward the big tree where Luchin was hiding. Hee, I didn't expect that I'd run into the Black Wolf gang here. Truly an unexpected pleasure. A sigh sounded, and a silhouette appeared at the top of the big tree. Luchin, brother? Find your next read on my virtual library Empire. Magoo, having survived a near-death experience, joyfully looked up at the tree. Young Master Lu? Xiao Tian and the others were just as shocked to see the person who appeared atop the tree. Luchin, brother? Young Master Lu? Hearing Magoo and the others' exclamations, Black Wolf squinted and looked at Luchin in the tree. When he saw Luchin's face, his heart couldn't help but shake. There was no getting around it. Luchin's appearance was just too young. He looked like nothing more than a teenager. But how could a teenager exert the terrifying force of the stone from earlier? Black Wolf tried hard to sense Luchin's strength, but facing Luchin, who had retracted his chi blood, he couldn't make out any details. The other members of the Black Wolf gang were also stirring. No one expected that the person who had attacked their boss was such a young kid. Black Wolf, filled with doubt, directly shouted, "Kid, who are you?" An enemy, Luchin standing on the tree, said calmly, "Aren't you looking for the person who destroyed Happy Village?" That was me. Hearing this, the members of the Black Wolf gang stirred again. It was you? Black Wolf's gaze sharpened. What grudge does my Black Wolf gang have with you that you would commit such a ruthless act and slaughter the entire village? Don't you think your methods are a bit too cruel? Cruel, you say? Luchin chuckled upon hearing this. It seems the Black Wolf gang really has no self-awareness of the evil it has done. Forget it. There's no reasoning with like you. After all, you were just a bunch of beasts wearing human skins. What did you say? Hearing Luchin's arrogant words, the people from the Black Wolf gang could no longer hold back. They, who always strutted around the county unchecked, had never been so openly humiliated. Someone skilled with the hidden weapon swiftly hurled a dart at Luchin. "Kid, get down here." The dart was fast and urgent, and in the blink of an eye, it reached Luchin, aiming at his head. Luchin's expression remained unchanged, his fingers lightly lifted, and he had already clamped the dart. "Here, take it back." In the next instant, a white flash passed by. Before anyone could see what happened, a scream sounded. Turning their heads to look, the member of the Black Wolf gang who had launched the dart had already fallen to the ground. A large hole was torn open in his throat, blood pouring out nonstop, and right next to him on the ground, a dart was launched. It was the very one he had previously directed at Lu Qing. "Eighth Master! Old Eight! Brother Eight!" Members of the Black Wolf gang cried out. But with his throat torn open and his windpipe ripped, the Eighth Master clearly could no longer respond to their calls. His eyes filled with terror, gurgling in his throat but unable to make a sound. After struggling for a while, his eyes lost focus, his legs stretched out, and he was gone for good. "Eighth Master!" The members of the Black Wolf gang were shocked by the Eighth Master's death. Looking at Lu Qing again, their eyes were now filled with fear. The Eighth Master was a martial artist who had reached great success in the Qi blood realm, and his skill with hidden weapons was well known in the county. To think that ambushing this young man would not only prove unsuccessful, but also result in one's own dart causing one's death. With a casual strike, he could kill a martial artist with Qi blood great success. Just who could this fearsome young man be? Old Eight, Black Wolf, seeing his sworn brother die, felt equally anguished. He fiercely turned to Lu Qing. "You brat, truly heartless and ruthless. Today, if I don't kill you, I, Black Wolf, swear I'm no man. To beings like you, who never deserved to be called human in the first place, you're nothing more than beasts, not even worthy to be pigs or dogs." Lu Qing spoke lightly, but his words were incredibly venomous. Good. I, Black Wolf, hereby swear, if I don't skin you alive, dismember your limbs, hang and sun-dry you for 7 days, then capture all your family members and friends to torture them to death, to appease the spirits of my fallen brothers, then I truly don't deserve the title of man. Black Wolf was furious, his eyes bloodshot as he glared at Lu Qing, grinding his teeth with every word. His appearance, as if ready to tear someone to pieces, made Ma Gu and the others tremble with fear, knowing that Black Wolf was on the verge of madness, especially Xiao Tian and the others, who felt themselves shaking, because they all knew that Black Wolf was someone who could indeed do as he said. In the county, who didn't know that Black Wolf was a madman who, at times, acted with complete disregard for consequences? And the actions of the entire Black Wolf gang were similarly insane, vengeful and ruthless, almost like their tagline. In the Western District, unless necessary, few were willing to provoke conflict with them, because once provoked, one might face a madman's vicious attack. This was also why the Black Wolf gang, despite not being the strongest, still arguably had the reputation as the leader of the 3 major gangs in the Western District. Now that young Master Lu had enraged these madmen, a deadly battle was inevitably upon us. Yes, boss, we must capture this brat, torture him to death, and avenge the 8th and 9th Masters. We must force him to reveal where his family is, capture them all. The members of the Black Wolf gang, encouraged by their leader, regained their courage and began shouting frenziedly. The fear they had of Lu Qing a moment ago vanished. Faced with the crazed manner of the Black Wolf gang members, Lu Qing's expression didn't change. "Enjoy news stories from my virtual library empire," he mocked. "Is that all you Black Wolf gang people can say to intimidate others?" I recall that Heart-Plucking Wolf said the same few lines, and then his head was chopped off by me. Good, very good. By now, Black Wolf was so enraged he was almost at a loss for words. No longer did he think about what grievances Lu Qing might have with the Black Wolf gang, because it no longer mattered. He just wanted to capture Lu Qing immediately and torture him to death with his own hands. Bring him down. At his command, the people of the Black Wolf gang made their move. Those skilled with hidden weapons launched them. The archers drew their longbows and shot arrows, and even those who knew nothing of hidden weapons picked up rocks and clods of earth, hurling them with all their might at Lu Qing. For a moment, a barrage of various hidden weapons and arrows cloaked Lu Qing in the tree. Although the Black Wolf gang members had just witnessed Lu Qing's proficiency with hidden weapons, they didn't believe he could maintain his position in the tree under such an onslaught. As expected, faced with so many attacks, Lu Qing didn't try to resist. His form shrank, and he vanished from the top of the tree. When he reappeared, he was already at the base of the tree, having dodged all the hidden weapons. But at the bottom of the tree, there were already people waiting for him. Die. Black Wolf had anticipated that his underlings' hidden weapon attacks would not be effective against Lu Qing. His goal was simply to force him down from the tree. Seeing Lu Qing indeed fall from the tree, Black Wolf was elated. Without a second thought, as Lu Qing's feet had yet to touch the ground and his body was suspended in the air without leverage, he violently threw a punch. When the punch was thrown, Black Wolf's eyes were filled with cruelty. This punch, if it connected, would shatter even a martial artist of the muscle-bone realm's bones, causing severe injury or even instantaneous death. Faced with such a daunting punch, Lu Qing's expression remained unchanged. He extended his hands, lightly touched, and had already caught hold of Black Wolf's arm. Then with a twist and a pull, using the force of that punch, his body lightly drifted backward, steadying himself firmly on the ground. How was that possible? Watching Lu Qing effortlessly, unscathed, catch his full-powered punch, Black Wolf's eyes widened, revealing an incredulous expression. He couldn't believe that his punch, delivered at such an exquisite timing with all his might, was so easily dissolved by Lu Qing. The key point was, even after exchanging blows, he still couldn't discern his opponent's realm. Lu Qing's chi blood was completely retracted within his body, preventing him from seeing through to any details. What kind of monster was this kid? Good at hand-to-hand combat? Lu Qing looked at Black Wolf, showing a hint of amusement in his eyes. Just in time, I have taken some interest in hand-to-hand martial arts recently. Let's use you for practice. Arrogant brat. Upon hearing this, Black Wolf's temper flared once more. He found that this kid's mouth was genuinely venomous, with every sentence uttered utterly humiliating. If he failed to kill him today, he feared that every time he remembered this, he would explode with rage. With a shudder of his arms, Black Wolf lunged at Lu Qing again. He refused to believe that this youngster, at such a young age, could possibly have a higher martial arts realm than him, who had been cultivating for decades. Such a figure simply couldn't exist in this desolate place. As Black Wolf lunged, his momentum was fierce, and his movement technique was extremely agile. His hands turned into claws, just like a giant steppe wolf king pouncing on his prey. This was his signature technique, the Black Wolf Fist. He had received this technique from an internal realm eccentric who came from the western border. That eccentric had spent decades in the steppes of the western border, observing the dominant giant wolf's habits and created this overbearing and ruthless technique. When mastered to perfection, one could step into the internal realm that countless martial artists yearn for. In his youth, Black Wolf met the eccentric and, by chance, learned of the man's abilities. He then hatched a sinister plan, using smooth talk to earn the eccentric's trust and became apprenticed to him, becoming the man's sole disciple. After becoming the disciple of the eccentric, Black Wolf attended to him day and night. After 3 years, he finally received the true teachings and was bestowed with martial arts knowledge. Once he obtained the secret techniques, Black Wolf immediately revealed his true colors. Already sick of serving the eccentric, one day at lunchtime, he poisoned the food with a rare toxin he had painstakingly acquired. The unsuspecting eccentric ate it and was instantly struck by violent poison, his inner organs seriously damaged, leaving only a fraction of his original strength. After the eccentric was poisoned, Black Wolf struck immediately, ambushing and crippling his limbs. Then after torturing him in every way possible, he finally decapitated the man who had cursed him for 3 days. After killing the eccentric, Black Wolf swept up all his possessions and fled far away, finally settling down in the remote Song County. Relying on the elixir medicine secret manuals left by the eccentric, he rigorously practiced martial arts until his cultivation soared, leading to the establishment of the Black Wolf Gang. During the foundation of the Black Wolf Gang, it was through the Black Wolf Fist that he fought his way to the top, gaining a firm foothold in the western part of the county town and thriving. Therefore, Black Wolf was full of confidence in his proud technique. He believed that even if someone was at the same muscle-bone realm of great success, they would surely not be a match for his Black Wolf Fist, which he had immersed himself in for decades. With agile and strange footwork, Black Wolf blinkingly arrived in front of Lu Qing. His claws, like a wolf king on the hunt, traced a bizarre trajectory as they lunged for Lu Qing's throat. Bring it on. Facing the ferocious Black Wolf, Lu Qing's gaze remained calm. Rather than retreating, he advanced. His chi blood exploded in an instant, his strong energy vibrating the air around him, causing it to like thunder. His shoulders sinking, his fist twisting, with a stomp that shook the ground beneath him, his right fist, swift as a thunderbolt, shot out directly at Black Wolf's heart. Fierce tiger fist, fierce tiger heart pluck. Roar. Lu Qing's punch erupted with a might more than tenfold stronger than Black Wolf's. Under the surge of air currents, an almost imperceptible tiger's roar sounded in conjunction with the tremors underfoot, shaking everyone's heart. What? This sudden outburst from Lu Qing was wild beyond Black Wolf's imagination. Facing Lu Qing's punch, which was both extremely fast and fierce. He had no time to react. Before his claws could touch Lu Qing's throat, he felt a severe pain in his heart, and the blood that surged up uncontrollably spurted out violently. His entire body was hurled backward, crashing into the large tree where Lu Qing had previously been standing, shaking down countless leaves. At his chest, there was a gaping hole, completely penetrating front to back. Boss. Big brother. Chief. Seeing Black Wolf propped up against the tree trunk, slumped in a sitting position, all the members of Black Wolf Gang couldn't help but shout out loud. Their hearts were filled with panic as well. Just moments ago, they had watched with their own eyes as their usually mighty boss had his chest blown open by that kid's fist, piercing through his back and sending him flying backward into a tree. Now, looking at the huge hole in Black Wolf's chest, the members of the Black Wolf Gang knew that their boss probably wouldn't survive. Black Wolf was not yet dead. The strong life energy of a martial artist at the bone marrow small success level allowed him to cling to life, even with such severe injuries. But as his drooping head looked down at the gaping hole in his chest and his heart, which had been blasted to pieces, disbelief still filled his eyes. He couldn't believe that he couldn't even take one move from Lu Qing. Explore stories on my virtual library empire. Even more unbelievable was that this kid before him was so young, yet, like him, he had already reached great success in the muscle bone realm. Indeed, just a moment ago, when Lu Qing suddenly erupted with power, Black Wolf finally recognized his martial arts realm. Step by step, Lu Qing slowly walked toward Black Wolf, standing in front of him with a trace of regret on his face. It really is a pity. I thought you might entertain me a bit. Let me test the results of my recent cultivation. To think you couldn't even take one punch. Who are you exactly? Black Wolf looked up at Lu Qing, struggling to speak. He couldn't fathom when the Black Wolf Gang had provoked such a terrifying individual. A young martial artist at great success in the muscle bone realm, even in those ancient major sects, would likely be few in number. Why would such a being appear in such a remote county, claiming to have a grudge against their Black Wolf Gang? You don't need to know who I am. You only need to know that I have come to annihilate your Black Wolf Gang. Lu Qing spoke indifferently. As soon as he finished speaking, his figure suddenly disappeared and reappeared in front of the other Black Wolf Gang members not far away. Roar. A faint roar of a tiger echoed, and as Lu Qing swung his arms forward, two members of Black Wolf Gang were solidly struck in their chests. A series of bone-snapping sounds followed, and the two members of Black Wolf Gang spurted blood, flying backwards, and had already breathed their last halfway through the air. Fierce tiger fist, tiger pouncing down the mountain. With one move, Lu Qing killed two members of Black Wolf Gang and remained expressionless as his figure never stopped, his fist striking out in tandem, blasting two more into the air with broken limbs and bones, dead before they hit the ground. In the following time, Lu Qing was like a tiger entering a flock of sheep. With every punch, a member of Black Wolf Gang was killed. At the beginning, the people of Black Wolf Gang thought to use their numbers and fight. But when they saw that Lu Qing killed two people with every move he made, in just a blink of an eye, only half of their number was still standing. Even the household had struggled to block his strikes. The remaining people immediately fell apart. Ah, run for it. This guy isn't human. Monster. A monster. Spare me. Mercy. Good sir, mercy. The members of Black Wolf Gang were fierce but not fools. Seeing that they were no match for Lu Qing, they started fleeing or begging for mercy, no longer showing their earlier arrogance. However, how could Lu Qing possibly show any mercy to these wretches filled with evil deeds? Whether fleeing or begging, he treated them all the same, pursuing and killing with a single punch. Very soon, he had killed all the members of Black Wolf Gang, even the second and third in command, who also had the strength of the muscle bone realm, couldn't withstand a punch from him, and were blasted to death with their inner organs shattered. In a brief time, the Black Wolf Gang, which had arrived with such a ferocious and invincible momentum, was entirely slaughtered by Lu Qing alone. Ma Gu and the others on the side were already staring, dumbfounded. As for Xiao Tian and his companions, there was no need to mention them. Their gazes toward Lu Qing were full of reverence, as if he were a god. They had personally experienced how threatening Black Wolf's presence was. They could never have imagined that such a strong and ferocious martial artist would be killed by Lu Qing with just a single punch. How powerful is young Master Lu after all? Even Ma Gu watched with full shock in his heart. He knew Lu Qing's strength not long ago. He had personally witnessed Lu Qing slay a mysterious martial arts expert of the bone marrow small success realm. Even his saber technique had once forced an expert of the internal realm to temporarily avoid its edge. So the moment Ma Gu saw Lu Qing appear, his heart settled down considerably. He knew that his own life, and those of Xiao Tian and the others were temporarily safe. With Lu Qing's strength, even facing someone like Black Wolf who had reached great success in the Muscle Bone realm, he would likely not be much worse off. Not to mention that mysterious and unpredictable living creature that could easily slay even internal realm experts. However, what he didn't expect was that in just a short period of time since then, Lu Qing's martial arts cultivation had explosively increased to a level even he couldn't see through. Without even drawing a sword, just a single punch had blown away the Black Wolf, who had long been famed in the county for his prowess in the Muscle Bone realm of great success. Such rapid improvement in cultivation level left Ma Gu immensely shocked. After all, it had been less than half a month since they had last met. Master Ma, are you all unharmed? Only after killing all the members of the Black Wolf gang did Lu Qing turn his attention to Ma Gu and the others. As for the Black Wolf, he had already died from the violent by Lu Qing while he was killing the others in the Black Wolf gang. Luckily, brother Lu Qing, you arrived in time, we're all unharmed, Ma Gu said in relief. By the way, brother Lu Qing, how did you come over here? During that brief conflict, no one from their side had died. The most seriously injured was a subordinate with a gashed head. His wound had been caused by a small stone chipped off by Black Wolf's punch that smashed the rock, which then splattered out and hit him. I was fishing by the river with Little Yin not long ago when I inadvertently saw this group of people. Seeing them rushing towards the market with such momentum, I was worried that something might happen, so I hurried over. Ma Gu was rendered speechless for a moment. He knew Lu Qing was fond of fishing and had even spent a lot of money crafting some expensive fish hooks. But to think that Lu Qing stumbled upon the Black Wolf gang's trail just because he was out fishing. For a moment, Ma Gu didn't know whether to be grateful for their luck or to mourn the misfortune of Black Wolf and his gang. Master Ma, how should we deal with these corpses? Lu Qing asked, looking at the corpses strewn across the ground. Let Xiao Tian and the others take care of it. Ma Gu gestured dismissively. They're familiar with this sort of thing. Xiao Tian and the others. Master Ma, don't make it sound like we're some kind of killing maniacs. We're familiar with it only because we helped young Master Lu dispose of an entire stronghold's worth of corpses last time, right? However, these were the thoughts they dare not voice in front of Lu Qing, keeping their complaints to themselves. Standing in front of Black Wolf's body, Ma Gu felt a wave of emotion. Black Wolf's reputation had been quite prominent in the county. The reason the Black Wolf gang could grow to that extent, becoming one of the top 3 gangs in the county, was largely thanks to Black Wolf's strength. Muscle Bone realm great success, even in the county, could be considered to be at the pinnacle level of strength. Apart from the Wei family and the county lord mansion, no family's martial artist could confidently say they could suppress Black Wolf. Yet such a formidable martial expert had been killed by Lu Qing in just one move. Brother Lu Qing, you should have left a survivor earlier. The Black Wolf gang's arrival seemed odd. We do not know who instigated them to come and find trouble in my insignificant place, Ma Gu said. There's no need for such trouble. The person who directed them has already arrived. At that moment, Lu Qing suddenly spoke. What did you say? Ma Gu was startled. However, Lu Qing did not answer him and instead looked towards a large tree not far away, declaring loudly, Your Excellency has been here for quite some time. Aren't you planning to show yourself? Ma Gu furtively glanced behind that tree. Interesting, a mere Muscle Bone realm youth managed to discover my presence. Boy, who exactly are you? A voice came from behind the tree. Immediately following, a white-robed young man holding a jade fan stepped out from behind the tree. When Ma Gu saw the young man in white clothing, his whole body trembled immensely, not only because he had previously not detected any trace of the other party, but more so because in his perception, the chi blood on that young man's body was like a deep abyss, even more terrifying than the middle-aged man he had encountered in the Nameless Valley. A martial artist of the internal organs realm. And he was even more formidable than that middle-aged man from before, from the internal organs realm. Ma Gu instantly made a judgment in his heart. Lu Qing's expression was equally solemn. In his field of vision, a dense red light was radiating from the body of the young man in white clothing. Bai Yuhua, disciple of the Northern Border Sky Blue sect, a martial artist of the innate realm who is the second disciple of Wang Sami, characterized as devious and treacherous, unpredictable. Cultivation. Small success in postnatal internal realm, possesses an explosive secret technique that can temporarily double combat power. Due to his master Wang Tsang's favoritism and estrangement, he harbors resentment toward his master and is extremely jealous of his fellow disciples. Indeed, it was someone from the Sky Blue sect. Lu Qing, understanding the information about the young man in white, felt clarity in his heart. However, although Wang Tsang is an expert of the innate realm, his ability to teach disciples is truly poor. How come each one of his disciples is rebellious by nature? It's bad enough that the disciples don't get along with each other, but they also harbor much resentment towards him, their master. On the other hand, the young man in white was equally astonished in his heart. Recently, due to the deaths of the 7th disciple and 3rd disciple, his master was furiously enraged and issued a command to definitely find out which sect forces were meddling. Among them, he also received a mission, which was to continue searching for the whereabouts of Wei Xing's wife and child. After seeing the manner of death of the 3rd and 7th disciples, how could the young man in white dare to expose himself to danger so easily? But he couldn't defy his master's order, so he directly drove a gang that he had recently subjugated to search for information outside of the city. As for himself, he followed behind these people, looking to potentially startle the hidden snake into revealing itself. Due to his wariness of that mysterious force, the young man in white didn't dare to get too close to Black Wolf and his men, always hiding 1 or 2 miles away. In this way, he could ensure that he would notice in time if Black Wolf and his group caused any disturbance, and it also ensured his own escape route at any moment. Unexpectedly, it was precisely because of this distance that by the time he heard the screams of the Black Wolf gang's men and approached, it was already too late. In that short span of time, Lu Qing had already slaughtered all the members of the Black Wolf gang. The inner heart of the young man in white shook as he looked at Lu Qing's youthful face. Just now, as he sneakily approached, he had witnessed Lu Qing kill the last few members of the Black Wolf gang. Judging from the outburst of Qi blood, he knew that Lu Qing was a martial artist with great success in the muscle bone realm. Great success in the muscle bone realm was not unusual, but such a young martial artist with great success in the muscle bone realm was extremely rare. Even within those top major sects, such a talented disciple was a rare sight. At the very least, their Sky Blue sect didn't have such a genius. Thus, at the glimpse of Lu Qing, the young man in white clothing was almost certain that Lu Qing was undoubtedly linked with the mysterious force they were searching for. Ordinary families and clans simply could not nurture such a young martial artist with great success in the muscle bone realm. Having identified Lu Qing's identity, the young man in white intended to retreat, but he never expected that his movements would be called out by Lu Qing. Remarkable, to think that a mere martial artist with great success in the muscle bone realm could detect my movements. Which sect's core disciple might you be? Asked the young man in white, waving his jade fan with a carefree air. Hearing his words, Ma Gu's heart jolted, knowing his previous guess wasn't wrong. Lu Qing indeed had reached the realm of a great success martial artist in the muscle bone realm. However, Lu Qing did not answer him, but said with a serious expression, "Ma Gu, you retreat to the side first." Ma Gu nodded and quickly moved back without any hesitation or delay. He knew that his presence would only serve as a burden to Lu Qing. The young man in white flashed a hint of displeasure when he saw Lu Qing ignoring him. However, he didn't immediately get angry. Instead, he became more cautious. Lu Qing's arrogance had to be based on something substantial. The scenes of the 3rd and 7th brothers' deaths in the Nameless Valley flashed through his mind. With this in mind, the young man in white clasped his hands and said, "Since you do not wish to reveal your identity, I won't intrude further. Farewell." After speaking, he lightly tapped his foot and began retreating backward. This unexpected turn of events caught Lu Qing off guard. He hadn't expected that a martial artist from the internal realm would retreat without a fight when facing him, a martial artist of the muscle bone realm. Truly, it was the character described by Superpower as being cunning, unpredictable, and not concerned with face. The moment he sensed something amiss, he immediately sought escape. But could he really escape? Lu Qing stepped forward and chased in the direction the young man in white had left. "Ma Gu, leave this place to you." "Okay." Watching Lu Qing and the young man in white disappear behind the trees, Ma Gu had no other choice but to comply. Such a level of combat was beyond his capacity to intervene. Yet, he wasn't worried about Lu Qing's safety because he knew that if Lu Qing dared to chase after him, the mysterious creature that had appeared in the Nameless Valley must be nearby. That was a terrifying being capable of easily slaying internal realm martial artists. With that being nearby, what he had to consider was whether the young man in white could manage a successful escape. "Ma Gu, what should we do now?" At this moment, Xiao Tian and the others cautiously asked. The brief aura that the young man in white presented upon his departure had made them tremble with fear. It was a sensation far more dreadful than Black Wolf. They could scarcely imagine what kind of expert would possess such a terrifying aura. Continue dealing with these bodies here. I need to go inside for a moment. Don't worry, with Brother Lu Qing here, nothing will go wrong. After giving his instructions, Ma Gu hurried into the residence. When he arrived in the secret room and saw that Mrs. Wei and her son were still there, he breathed a huge sigh of relief. He had been frightened that they might have already fled through the tunnel, which would have made searching for them quite challenging. Ma Gu, what happened outside? On seeing Ma Gu enter, Mrs. Wei and her son were startled, and young Master Wei immediately asked. To report to Madam, it was Black Wolf, the leader of the Black Wolf gang, leading a large band of his gang to forcibly intrude into the manor. Searching for your whereabouts, Ma Gu answered. The Black Wolf gang, how did they find out we were here? Young Master Wei asked anxiously. Mrs. Wei couldn't help but frown. On normal days, she had heard from the master that Black Wolf was a martial arts expert of the muscle bone realm at great success. If he were to force his way into the manor, just Ma Gu and the others in the house wouldn't be able to stop him. Continue reading at my virtual library empire. I do not know how, but rest assured, Madam and young Master, fortunately, Brother Lu Qing arrived just in time and has killed all the villains from the Black Wolf gang. And the crisis has been temporarily averted. Lu Qing, the young doctor came? Young Master Wei said with surprise and delight. Mrs. Wei was equally astonished. She thought she had heard Ma Gu say that Lu Qing had killed all the people from the Black Wolf gang, including that Black Wolf with great success in the Musclebone realm. Where's young Master Lu now? There is an even more formidable person behind the Black Wolf gang who is in control. Brother Lu Qing has already pursued him, and I was worried that you might have left through the tunnel, so I came in to check the situation first. Hearing this, Mrs. Wei and young Master Wei were even more astonished. In the forest, Lu Qing was relentlessly pursuing the white-clothed young man. Sir, as a powerful martial artist of the internal realm, why run away without a fight? Aren't you afraid of being ridiculed by the world? Lu Qing called out loudly at the white-clothed young man not far away. Anger and shock filled the white-clothed young man when he saw Lu Qing chasing after him. What infuriated him was this insignificant little muscle-bone realm kid daring to mock him so brazenly, treating him with utter disregard. What shocked him was that Lu Qing dared to chase after him so recklessly, which suggested he had some backup, likely meaning that the person who had killed Lao San and Lao Qi the other day was nearby. With this thought, even though the white-clothed young man was annoyed and longed to turn around and capture Lu Qing at once, his pace quickened even more. Being usually cautious and prudent, he had already resolved to report back to his master and call over the elder disciple. Despite the jealousy he held toward the elder disciple, the white-clothed young man had to admit that in terms of strength, his elder brother was far superior. Your journey continues with my virtual library empire being at the perfection of the internal realm, having reached the limit of the postnatal realm. Without an innate standing in their way, they were the mightiest of martial artists. As long as the elder disciple took action, he no longer needed to fear the hidden master. Then, crushing Lu Qing, a minor muscle-bone realm martial artist, would be as easy as flipping his hand. Seeing the white-clothed young man unperturbed and escaping even faster, Lu Qing heaved a sigh inwardly, realizing that provocation wasn't going to stop his enemy. He had recently experienced a surge in his realm and wanted to test his current strength to see if he could exchange a few moves with an internal realm opponent. To his disappointment, the white-clothed young man was too cautious and didn't offer any openings. Seeing the white-clothed young man on the verge of escaping his line of sight, Lu Qing had no choice but to shout, literally, block him. As the words left his mouth, the white-clothed young man suddenly felt an immensely frightening sense of crisis assailing the posterior of his heart, chilling his back. How can it be? The white-clothed young man was greatly alarmed. Lu Qing should still be more than 20 yards away. How could he be at his back so swiftly? Feeling the bone-chilling coldness behind him, and in an urgent situation, the white-clothed young man could only stab backward with the jade fan in his hands. Hiss. The white-clothed young man's move, piercing the air, was loaded with power, but in the next moment, he felt a lightness in his hand. His jade fan, made of the hard-cold jade and comparable to fine steel, was cleanly severed in an instant, and at the same time, a sharp pain struck his hand. Had he not retracted it rapidly, he might have lost his wrist as well. What? The white-clothed young man was internally reeling. He abruptly stopped and hid behind a large tree that could be encircled by one person, looking back. But what he saw caused his pupils to contract drastically once more. Behind him was utterly empty. There was no one there. The closest person to him, Lu Qing, was still over 10 yards away, rushing towards him. What had just attacked him? In an instant, looking at the jade fan broken into several pieces on the ground and the deeply visible bone wounds on the back of his hand, the white-clothed young man's heart weighed heavily. The unknown was the most terrifying. He couldn't imagine what kind of attack could halve one of his hands in an instant, but he knew that it must be related to Lu Qing, for it was right after Lu Qing's shout that he had suffered the attack. "Face my blade." The white-clothed young man was cautious of his surroundings, but Lu Qing disregarded his shock. Upon seeing Little Li halt the man, Lu Qing, who had been rushing over, did not slow down. His war saber drawn from its sheath, he used his momentum to strike down with unstoppable force. That might. It looked as if he meant to cleave both the white-clothed young man and the tree into two with a single. This saber technique. Feeling the might of Lu Qing's strike, the white-clothed young man couldn't help his eyelids twitching. In this move, he too sensed danger. A careless response might leave him seriously wounded, even with his own strong capabilities. That a mere muscle-bone realm youngster could exhibit such saber technique. Who exactly was this kid? Although the white-clothed young man was astonished, his reaction was not a bit slow. With a will, he controlled his injured right hand to stop the bleeding. The left hand swept across his waist, and a silvery flash, like a venomous snake, shot out, aiming straight for Lu Qing's throat. At this point, the white-clothed young man could no longer afford to ponder what had attacked him. He had to take down Lu Qing as swiftly as possible to make the mysterious entity hesitate from acting in hopes of gaining a chance to break away. A soft sword? Lu Qing was somewhat surprised to see the true nature of that silvery flash. He had thought the white-clothed young man's weapon was solely the jade fan, not expecting that what he truly excelled in was swordsmanship, and within that, the extremely challenging soft sword technique. However, it also perfectly suited the other's sneaky and cunning nature. The white-clothed young man's soft sword, flickering like a venomous snake, was exceedingly fast. It cut through Lu Qing's saber momentum, reaching first despite acting later, aiming to pierce his throat. This single move displayed the high level of his sword proficiency. Taking advantage of the tree's cover and striking suddenly and lethally was indeed unexpected and severely crafty. For an average muscle-bone realm martial artist, even one at the perfection of the bone realm, such a strike would likely be impossible to defend against, resulting in a pierced neck and immediate death. But Lu Qing was clearly not an average muscle-bone realm martial artist. Sensing the white-clothed young man's soft sword was faster than his war saber, he instantly changed tactics. His formidable, wave-like saber force, in an instant, turned into entwining flowing water, with a heavy knock, deflecting the soft sword aside. Following a twist of his wrist, his body moved with the war saber, which, like the nimble flow of a mountain stream, drew a mysterious arc around the trunk, aiming for the neck of the young man in white. This lad's saber technique. The sudden change of move took the young man in white by surprise. Seeing the war saber about to strike his neck, he quickly ducked, narrowly avoiding the blade. Then, with a quick roll to the ground, he instantly distanced himself and looked at Lu Qing with incredible shock. He didn't know how many times he had been surprised by Lu Qing since they'd met. But the saber technique Lu Qing displayed was too unexpected for him. From sheer hardness to the utmost softness, this lad was able to switch so smoothly without any sign of difficulty. Even he had never seen such a level of saber technique realm before. Harmony of strength and gentleness, meticulous to the extreme, a saber master. Did you kill Lao Chi, kid? Instantly, the young man in white recalled the sight of Lao Chi's corpse in the nameless valley, and an exclamation escaped his lips. Lao Chi had been decapitated and his leather armor split open, but the injuries on his body were not severe. Explore more of my virtual library empire clearly. The enemy's strength was insufficient to cut through Lao Chi along with his armor in one strike. At the time, he had found it odd that someone could so easily kill Lao Chi despite their lack of strength. Now, witnessing Lu Qing's saber technique, he finally had an epiphany. If it was this lad, then surely Lao Chi had no chance to fight back. Lu Qing ignored the young man's shocked exclamation in white. He knew that the Lao Chi the other party mentioned must be Tong Sangwang, but for such a question, he wouldn't respond. While the young man in white was still mentally unsettled, Lu Qing's gaze sharpened. He strode forward and swung his saber again. What if you're a saber master? You're just in the muscle-bone realm. Am I supposed to be afraid of you? The young man in white was equally annoyed to see Lu Qing disregarding his words. Although he didn't know how Lu Qing, at such a young age, managed to cultivate his saber technique to such a realm. But a realm also requires strength to support it. If a martial artist from the internal realm, even someone newly entered into the internal realm, displayed Grandmaster-level saber moves, he'd surely have to flee in defeat. But it was different for someone in the muscle-bone realm. The gap in cultivation between major realms isn't so easily bridged. Facing Lu Qing's fierce strike, the young man in white shook his soft sword and swiftly aimed right at Lu Qing's saber-wielding wrist. Lu Qing twisted his wrist, avoided that, and without altering his movement, continued the chop forward. Ting ting ting. The sound of saber clashing with sword was incessant, with silver light interweaving. In just an instant, they had exchanged blows dozens of times. One had profound cultivation and immense strength with astonishing sword speed. The other possessed a deep realm of saber technique, with exquisite moves that flowed as he wished. For a time, neither could gain the upper hand over the other. Ting. Another loud clash rang out, and Lu Qing easily blocked the young man's killing move in white. The young man in white then used the rebound force of that strike to retreat far back, temporarily out of Lu Qing's attack range. This time, Lu Qing didn't continue to chase, standing still as well. Seeing Lu Qing so composed, the young man in white clenched his teeth in resentment. If it weren't for his right hand injury and the unfamiliarity of using his left hand with the sword, Lu Qing wouldn't have been able to block his moves so easily. Now he, a martial artist of the internal realm, was fighting to a draw with someone from the muscle-bone realm, an outright humiliation. Watching the young man's disgruntled face in white, Lu Qing couldn't help but sigh. He could see that although the other's swordsmanship was fierce, there was a slight discord between the moves. That's because he was not adept at wielding the sword with his left hand. Otherwise, Lu Qing feared it would have been more difficult for him. Likewise, Lu Qing also knew that he was able to block the young man's offensive in white largely because the opponent was using a soft sword. Soft sword techniques rely on agility and surprise, and due to the nature of the weapon, no matter how strong one is, it won't be too overpowering. Even in the internal realm, one couldn't rely on that to overpower his war saber. One could only seek to exploit vulnerabilities with clever moves for a fatal strike. Unfortunately for the young man in white, his sword technique realm was much lesser compared to Lu Qing's saber technique. Unable to surpass him in skillfulness of moves and unable to crush him with strength, this was why the young man felt so stifled. The path of light and strange swordsmanship he took was exactly restrained by Lu Qing. However, despite having the advantages of right timing and support, Lu Qing knew this was as far as he could go. At best, he could only fight the young man in white to a standstill, but trying to defeat him was exceedingly difficult. The internal realm was indeed strong. Even in a wounded state, he was not someone Lu Qing in the muscle-bone realm could easily defeat. If the young man in white knew what Lu Qing was thinking at that moment, he'd be even more infuriated. A mere muscle-bone realm youth, relying on luck to fight him to a draw and yet unsatisfied, foolishly aspiring to defeat him personally, was sheer arrogance. But the young man in white was currently struggling internally. Under the current circumstances, regular exchanges wouldn't allow him to defeat Lu Qing. Should he resort to using a secret technique? The young man in white hesitated. The secret technique could double his combat strength instantly, making defeating Lu Qing a non-issue once used. But that was his last trump card, reserved for whatever mysterious force had injured him earlier. Using it now would leave him defenseless against that mysterious force. Moreover, after using the secret technique, he would fall into a weakened state, with his strength drastically declining. If he couldn't take down Lu Qing in a short period of time, he feared that the time of his death would truly arrive. Literally, attack. However, just as the young man in white was still hesitating, Lu Qing on the opposite side suddenly issued a command to Little Li. Since he had already tested his current strength, Lu Qing naturally wouldn't continue to entangle with the young man in white. This sharpener had lost its value. After giving the command to Little Li, he himself, holding the war saber, pounced forward. He intended to fight without martial honor, teaming up with Little Li to launch a joint attack. The young man in white, upon hearing Lu Qing call out that name again, was shocked to his core. The chill that had previously seized him returned to his heart. Without a second thought, without any hesitation, he immediately circulated his chi blood, stimulating the acupoints all over his body. As the secret technique activated, a formidable power surged forth from deep within his body. The next moment, as the chill in his heart intensified, he saw a white little paw suddenly emerge from the void before him, grabbing towards his chest. What is that? The young man in white was terrified. He had never imagined such a strange occurrence. Without thinking, his soft sword trembled violently, like a swimming venomous snake, quickly stabbing towards that strange little paw. Ding! Just as the strange little paw seemed about to be pierced by a sword, the next instant, a piece of blade edge appeared in front of him, deflecting his soft sword. Immediately after, a black little beast, strange and enigmatic, leaped out from the void before him, dexterously avoiding the sword edge and pouncing toward his chest. Thud! A muffled sound, and the young man in white felt a pain in his body, as if something had left his body, causing his whole body to stagger. His strength began to drain rapidly. The young man in white looked down to see a large hole had been ripped through his chest, piercing front to back. The heart that should have been beating within his body was nowhere to be found. The specially made inner armor he wore under his clothing seemed to have not provided the slightest protection. With disbelief, the young man in white raised his head, about to say something, but saw a section of blade already in front of his eyes, a cut decapitating his head. As the world spun, the young man in white's fading consciousness suddenly recalled everything he had seen that day in the Nameless Valley. And he realized. So that's how number 3 had died. Thud. As the young man in white's severed head hit the ground, Lu Qing's expression didn't change at all. Continue your adventure at my virtual library empire. In fact, just literally alone was enough to kill the young man in white. However, to avoid complications, he chose to end the fight quickly. Looking at the corpse of the young man in white, Lu Qing felt somewhat sentimental. It seemed that he really didn't get along well with Wang Sanyi. In this short period of time, 3 of his disciples had died at his and Little Li's hands. If that innate realm individual discovered his identity, he'd likely search heaven and earth to seek revenge. Thinking this, Lu Qing immediately grabbed the corpse and head of the young man in white and went deeper into the mountains. Eventually, he found a rarely trodden valley and buried it. After doing all of this, he relaxed somewhat. The vast mountains made it extremely difficult to find a living person, let alone a corpse. For Wang Sanyi to find his second disciple's corpse would probably be as hard as reaching the heavens. Although this couldn't completely deceive the other party, as long as the disciple's body wasn't seen for a day, Wang Sanyi probably wouldn't dare confirm his true death. Just drag it out for a bit longer, until his master's strength increased. Then the situation would be different. Lu Qing, brother, you're back? When Lu Qing returned to the market, Ma Gu greeted him with a face full of surprise. At the same time, the heart he had been holding was finally set at ease. Lu Qing had been gone for over an hour, and to say Ma Gu wasn't worried would be a lie. Now, he had finally returned safely. Lu Qing nodded. Mrs. Wei and the others are all right? They're fine, just a bit shaken, Ma Gu replied. Lu Qing, brother, that man in white. He's been dealt with, Lu Qing said coolly. But Ma Gu was shocked. Although he had anticipated it, the confirmation from Lu Qing still astonished him. After all, that man had been at the level of the internal realm, and including him, 2 experts of the internal realm had now died at Lu Qing's hands. They must credit the mysterious creature for some of it, but clearly, the creature was also under Lu Qing's command. To say that it was his own strength was not an exaggeration. By the way, Master Ma, this place is no longer safe. We probably need to relocate Mrs. Wei, Lu Qing said. The Black Wolf gang had come this time without hiding their tracks. Once the county found their disappearance, they would definitely send people to investigate. Soon, they would track it to the market. But where can we relocate them to? Ma Gu wondered, distressed. He knew too well that keeping Mrs. Wei and her son in the house was no longer safe. But for the moment, he could think of no other place to shelter them. Lu Qing also felt troubled. Mrs. Wei and her son were like hot potatoes now. No matter where they hid, they might bring death upon the people there. Unless those who would harbor them were not afraid of an innate realm expert like Wang Sanyi. After thinking it over, Lu Qing said, it seems the only plan for now is to hide them in the mountains. The mountains were vast and hiding someone there would be easy. Now that Mrs. Wei's injuries had healed, as long as they were well prepared, staying hidden in the mountains should be no problem. We have no other choice, Ma Gu nodded. Let's go in and ask for the lady's opinion. The 2 entered a dark chamber. Young Master Lu, Mrs. Wei and her son were overjoyed to see Lu Qing. They had been shocked and very worried when Ma Gu told them Lu Qing had gone to chase the enemy. Now seeing him return safe, they were relieved. Madam, young master. Lu Qing nodded in response. The evil ones outside have been temporarily dealt with, but it's already clearly unsafe for you and the young master to stay here. Lu Qing shared his idea of relocating them. Mrs. Wei pondered for a while and did not object. Since their whereabouts were likely compromised, staying here was not only unsafe but also posed a risk to nearby people. So moving was the best solution. Seeing Mrs. Wei agree, the rest was easier to handle. They immediately packed their belongings and essential daily supplies. Lu Qing and Ma Gu carried the packs, and along with Mrs. Wei and young Master Wei, they left through the tunnel in the dark chamber. However, before leaving, Ma Gu had also ordered Xiao Tian and the others to temporarily close the market and scatter to find places to avoid detection. Coming out of the tunnel, Lu Qing and his group had reached the mountain behind the market. Lu Qing carried the bags for young Master Wei while he carried Mrs. Wei, and the four of them headed deeper into the mountains. In the deep mountains, after some searching, Lu Qing finally found a hidden cave on a cliff more than 10 meters high in a valley. After cleaning, it became a temporary shelter for Mrs. Wei and her companions. After that, Lu Qing also scattered a bag of medicinal powder around the cave entrance. Madam, I apologize for the inconvenience of staying here. This medicinal powder can repel insects and animals. With it, ordinary wild beasts and poisonous creatures wouldn't dare come near, Lu Qing explained after settling everything. I wouldn't dare call it inconvenient, Mrs. Wei quickly replied. Given the current circumstances, my son and I are very grateful even just to have a place to stay. I will deliver some living supplies every few days. Just let me know if you need anything. After settling Mrs. Wei and her son, Lu Qing prepared to leave. He would not stay in the valley, but Ma Gu would stay with Mrs. Wei and her son. Otherwise, with their lack of experience surviving in the wilderness, it wouldn't take long for trouble to arise. Brother Lu Qing, let me walk you out. Stay tuned for updates on my virtual library empire at this moment. Ma Gu suddenly spoke. All right, Lu Qing didn't refuse. The two reached the cave entrance and jumped down to the valley floor. At the entrance, there was actually a vine ladder, but clearly, for the likes of Lu Qing, such aids were unnecessary. Master Ma, seeing how you move, your muscles and bones are powerful. You must be close to achieving small success in the muscle bone realm, right? Upon reaching the valley floor, Lu Qing observed Ma Gu and remarked, "You really can't hide anything from Brother Lu Qing." Indeed, after my encounter with that leather armor youth, I gained some insight and touched upon the principle of bone marrow small success. Ma Gu laughed. He felt somewhat fortunate. Previously, he was being relentlessly pursued by that leather armor youth, and in his bid to escape, he had pushed his abilities to the limit. Unexpectedly, after surviving that ordeal, his potential was unlocked, and he touched the threshold of bone marrow small success. Just because of his injured shoulder, he had not been able to focus on his cultivation, thus he had not fully entered that realm. This is certainly a joyous occasion, and I don't have much to offer. Lu Qing took out a white porcelain medicine bottle and tossed it to Ma Gu. Ma Gu, caught off guard by Lu Qing suddenly throwing an elixir his way, awkwardly caught it in his hands. With some confusion, he asked, "Brother Lu Qing, what kind of elixir is this?" "This is a few bone forging pills that Housekeeper Wei gave me before," Lu Qing explained. "They are quite beneficial for martial artists in the muscle bone realm to aid in their cultivation." Find your next read on my virtual library empire indeed. What Lu Qing had given was the thank you gift from the Wei family, those 3 bone forging pills. Bone forging pills? Ma Gu was taken aback on hearing this. How could he not have heard of such precious pills that could assist in the cultivation of the muscle bone realm? "Brother Lu Qing, this is too precious," Ma Gu quickly said. "It's all right. These pills are of no use to me anymore," Lu Qing insisted. "It's a waste for me to keep them. Better you have them." The main effect of the bone forging pills was to help martial artists in the muscle bone realm expand their sinew and bone potential during cultivation. But having consumed Earth Vein Spirit Liquid like rare treasure liquid and absorbed a lot of the primordial Qi white mist condensed by the heaven and earth rules during his master's breakthrough, Lu Qing's potential had already reached its limit. Though the bone forging pills were good, it was impossible for them to enhance his potential any further. Even to assist in cultivation, he had better pills like the bone strengthening and muscle relaxing pill. Therefore, these bone forging pills were not of much use to him now, and were better given to Ma Gu. Lu Qing quite admired Ma Gu. He was a friend worth making, and Lu Qing was more than willing to lend a helping hand on his path of cultivation. Brother Lu Qing, then. I will shamelessly accept it, Ma Gu said, clutching the medicine bottle, visibly moved. Such precious elixirs like the bone-forging pills were not even in the possession of the Ma family. Usually, only major families and sects could produce them. Small powers could only hope to buy them for a hefty price. Although Ma Gu had a respectable status within his clan, not being from the direct line, his family would not spend a large sum on such precious cultivation resources for him. Now Lu Qing had given him such precious pills without a second thought, deeply touching Ma Gu's heart. Okay, since we are friends, there's no need for too many thanks, Lu Qing said. And remember, Mr. Ma, you must only refine these bone-forging pills after you've officially reached small success in the muscle-bone realm and stabilized your foundation. Otherwise, the potency of the pills is too strong and can seriously harm your body. I will remember that. Ma Gu was startled. He truly did not know there was such a contraindication in taking bone-forging pills. I'll be leaving now, and I'll come back in a few days to check up on you all, Lu Qingmin said. Just rest and recuperate here peacefully for now. With that, Lu Qing began to move, leaping away and soon vanishing into the valley. Watching Lu Qing disappear into the forest, Ma Gu stood there dazed for a while before he climbed back to the cave via the vine ladder. Mr. Ma, has Dr. Lu Xiao left? Young Master Wei asked. Yes, he said he would come back to visit us after some time. What is that in your hand? Young Master Wei saw the medicine bottle in Ma Gu's hand. This is from Brother Lu Qing just now, Ma Gu replied openly. He told me it was the bone-forging pills that your Wei family had once given him. Bone-forging pills? Young Master Lu did not take these pills? Mrs. Wei asked in surprise. She had personally selected the pills from the family's medicine store, never expecting that Lu Qing would not use them. Brother Lu Qing said that the pills are not of much use to him anymore, Ma Gu explained. That taking them would be a waste, so he gave them to me. Mrs. Wei fell silent for a moment. Earlier, in the secret room, she had heard from Ma Gu that Lu Qing's martial arts cultivation might have reached the great achievement of sinew and bone. At the time, she was surprised and thought that the bone-forging pills they had given to Lu Qing must have been of some help. But it turned out that Lu Qing did not take those pills at all. In this way, the debt of gratitude the Wei family owed to Lu Qing had grown even larger. Mrs. Wei was sighing, and beside her, young Master Wei also had a troubled expression on his face. After hesitating for a moment, he finally spoke up. Ma Gu, can you teach me martial arts? Young Master, what did you say? Ma Gu doubted he had heard correctly. I said, can you teach me martial arts? Said young Master Wei, now unfazed after speaking out, candidly. Young Master is jesting. Your family has many experts, any one of whom could easily defeat Ma. If you wish to learn martial arts, you could ask them in the future. How could Ma's superficial skills possibly teach you? Ma Gu repeatedly shook his head. The Wei family had a profound background. He probably couldn't even handle a silver moon guard. To teach young Master Wei, wouldn't that be leading him astray? But our bodyguards are not here at the moment. They can't teach me. Young Master Wei earnestly said. Besides, whether my mother and I can survive and return to the Wei family is still unknown. If villains find us tomorrow and want to capture my mother and me, what should I do? Am I to just watch you fight alone, hiding on the side like a useless person? I don't want to be like that anymore. I also want to have the strength to protect my mother myself. So Ma Gu, please teach me. I can promise you, no matter how tiring or difficult, I can persevere. Ma Gu looked at young Master Wei in surprise. As for Mrs. Wei, her beautiful eyes widened. She couldn't believe her son had said such words. She hadn't expected him to ever say something like that. After all, when he was in the mansion, an heir had always detested martial arts training. If it got a little tough, he would complain endlessly, hardly able to continue. Usually, he was always slacking off, shirking duties, wholly uninterested in cultivation. The martial masters in the mansion didn't dare to force him and had no way to deal with him. Thus, even with the resources of the mansion, in the end, an heir had only managed to barely cultivate to the Qi blood realm and learned a few fancy but useless moves, having no real combative skills. Hearing her son's sudden request to learn martial arts, how could Mrs. Wei not be shocked? Looking at her son's serious expression and the stubble on his face, Mrs. Wei realized, after these days of hardship, her son's face had become much more resolute. His entire demeanor had drastically changed from before. Overjoyed, Mrs. Wei also stood up and bowed to Ma Gu. Mr. Ma, since an heir has such determination as a mother, I too humbly ask you, Could you agree to his request? I can let him perform the rites of a disciple for you. Madam, that must not be. Ma Gu was greatly alarmed, repeatedly waving his hands. The rites of a disciple were not trivial. It was a major ceremony conducted only between actual masters and disciples. That is to say, Mrs. Wei was actually offering her son to truly become his disciple, to be the teacher of the young master of the Wei family. Even if Ma Gu were given a few more doses of courage, he wouldn't dare. What's not to be, Mr. Ma? You are renowned for your righteousness, risking danger many times to rescue us, a rare virtue in this world. It would be a blessing for an heir to apprentice under you, Mrs. Wei earnestly said. Madam, please stop flattering me. How much Ma is worth? Don't I know it myself? Ma Gu said, embarrassed and smiling wryly. However, if the young master truly wishes to learn martial arts, then I can teach him, as long as Madam and the young master do not mind my modest skills. An heir, aren't you going to thank Mr. Ma? Mrs. Wei said. Thank you, Master. Young Master Wei was straightforward, immediately knelt down, and gave Ma Gu several deep kowtows, shouting loudly. This. Ma Gu hadn't expected young Master Wei to kowtow to him so promptly. By the time he thought to stop him, it was already done. For a moment, Ma Gu was in a daze. He couldn't quite understand how he had become young Master Wei's master in such a befuddled state. Lu Qing didn't know that after he left, Ma Gu had actually become young Master Wei's teacher. Returning home, he remained attentive for a few days and noticed no unusual people lingering near the village. The death of the man in white probably hadn't been exposed yet. 2 more days passed, and he packed some belongings before heading to the hiding place of Ma Gu and his associates. Just as he entered the cave, he saw Ma Gu seriously training young Master Wei in horse stance in a spacious cavern, which greatly surprised him. After learning the reason, he felt happy for Ma Gu. Master Ma, congratulations on gaining a promising disciple. Not far away, young Master Wei was practicing his horse stance while Mrs. Wei watched over him. On another side, Lu Qing casually chatted with Ma Gu. For someone of the Wei family's heritage, having Ma Gu become young Master Wei's teacher was definitely a good thing for him. The current concern was whether the Wei family could survive this crisis. Brother Lu Qing, stop joking with me. How much my martial arts are worth? I know better than anyone, Ma Gu said with a bitter smile. I'm just afraid of not teaching well and leading the boy astray. It's fine. Just take it step by step and help the young master lay a solid foundation. I think that can never be wrong, Lu Qing suggested. That's what I thought too. So these past few days, I've had him practice horse stance to cultivate his chi blood. Xian has essentially been doing very well. What surprised me though, is that Xian's martial arts talent is actually quite good. Once he focuses, he quickly grasps some mysteries of the circulation of chi blood. I think it won't take long for him to break through to the small success stage of the Chi blood realm. Young Master Wei's name was Wei Xian, and since Ma Gu had become his teacher, he naturally couldn't continue addressing him as young master, as that would be against etiquette. Oh, that's great. Why the long face then? Lu Qing was also a bit surprised. The better Xian's martial arts talent is, the more anxious I become. What should I teach him when the time comes? Ma Gu was worried. That's easy. Just ask what martial arts he likes, and then you can teach him that, replied Lu Qing. He knew that Ma Gu excelled in saber technique and was also quite adept at swordsmanship. I've asked, but Xian's preferences seem to be a bit different. At this point, Ma Gu's expression turned somewhat strange. What martial arts does he like? Lu Qing was curious. Stick technique. Xian is more fond of stick technique, Ma Gu replied helplessly. But my knowledge of stick technique is very limited. How can I teach him? Stick technique? Lu Qing's expression also became odd. He didn't expect the gentle and clean-looking Wei Xian to favor stick technique. Aren't these heirs from great families usually fonder of swordsmanship or saber technique, or refined short combat arts like the Jade Fan? I was surprised too, but Xian said that last time when I was being pursued and he was alone in the cave guarding his mother with a wooden stick, that stick was his only support. So he vowed that when he has the chance, he must learn very powerful stick technique so that he can protect his mother. Lu Qing. All right, although that explanation was a bit bizarre, it wasn't unreasonable. However, when it comes to stick technique, watching Ma Gu looking worried, Lu Qing thought for a moment. He said, I happen to know a stick technique, but I don't know if young Master Wei would look down on it. Brother Lu Qing, you also know stick technique? Ma Gu was astounded. Just a bit. Recently, when I had nothing better to do, I just played around with some common martial arts I got from my teacher. Magu looked at Lu Qing speechlessly. Listen to this. Is this even human talk? What does he mean by playing around with some common martial arts when bored? He had always thought that the rapid progress in Lu Qing's martial arts cultivation was due to relentless and disciplined practice without the smallest slack. But now Lu Qing was saying that he also could afford to idle away time practicing some common martial arts to pass the time. Is this the daily routine of a true martial arts genius? What Magu thought to be genius also needs incredibly hard practice for rapid progress, but it turns out that isn't the case at all. Magu felt somewhat disarrayed. However, he recalled the scene several days ago when Lu Qing had killed Black Wolf with a single punch. The Black Wolf had dominated the county for a long time, having reached great success in the muscle bone realm, with formidable boxing skills and few rivals. Yet he couldn't withstand even one punch from Lu Qing. Before that, Magu never knew that Lu Qing's boxing skills were so powerful, so his knowledge of stick technique seemed to not be an unbelievable thing after all. Thinking this, Magu hurriedly said, "Any martial arts skill that Brother Lu Qing deems worthy must be extraordinary, and I'm sure Xian would definitely not scorn it. Then all right, I'll ask him later if he's willing to learn." The two walked toward the cavern where Wei Xian was practicing. This cave was specially chosen by Lu Qing, with a hidden entrance and a spacious interior, divided into several chambers. It allowed Ma Gu and his associates to live separately and avoid awkward situations. The cavern where Wei Xian practiced horse stance was the largest one, easily accommodating dozens of people. Master Ma, young Master Lu. Mrs. Wei stood up to greet the two men as they approached. As for Wei Xian, he was practicing horse stance until his face turned red and his legs trembled, yet he dared not speak easily, fearing that losing his focus would prevent him from continuing. "Xian, that's enough. Rest for a while." Seeing his disciple reach his limit, Magu spoke up. Hearing this, Xian could no longer stand and collapsed to the ground, gasping heavily. Seeing this, Magu nodded slightly with satisfaction. In the past few days, he had indeed seen his disciple fulfill the promise made at the time of apprenticeship. No matter how hard or tiring, he never complained and strove to do his best. "Xian, didn't you want to learn the stick technique? I'm ignorant in that skill. I'm afraid it would be hard for me to teach you," Magu said. "Brother Lu Qing just mentioned he knows a stick technique. Would you like to learn it? Young Master Lu, aren't you skilled in the saber technique?" Wei Xian replied in astonishment. He had seen that every time Lu Qing appeared, he was always carrying a war saber. Brother Lu Qing is truly a martial arts genius. He easily masters any type of martial arts. Hence, the stick technique is naturally no difficulty for him, Magu praised. "I wouldn't call myself a genius, but I do know a little about the stick technique. If the young master doesn't mind, I could teach it to you," Lu Qing said with a light laugh. "Learn? Of course, learn." Wei Xian nodded repeatedly. With Wei Xian's agreement, Mrs. Wei had no objections either. She too hoped her son could learn the martial arts he liked. Thus, Lu Qing went out into the mountainside forest, found a suitable resilient tree branch, cut and trimmed it into a stick, and brought it back into the cave. "Young master, the stick technique I know was originally an advanced discipline within the muscle bone realm. Your current cultivation is shallow and not enough to cultivate it. I have simplified it into 8 forms, which you can cultivate even at the Qi blood realm. As long as you learn them, ordinary Qi blood realm martial artists will not necessarily be your match." Lu Qing, holding the stick, stood in the center of the cave chamber, speaking slowly. Upon hearing this, Wei Xian became somewhat excited, watching Lu Qing with keen eyes. Honestly, he had never seen Lu Qing fight with his own eyes. To him, Lu Qing seemed just a common young man, about his own age, with nothing to show for his martial arts realm. Even during their previous journeys, Lu Qing's aura was extremely contained, showing nothing outwardly. But from the teacher's praise, Lu Qing was held in high esteem, going as far as to say that if he and Lu Qing were to spar, he wouldn't withstand even half a move before being defeated. Moreover, with what his teacher said a few days ago that Lu Qing had single-handedly annihilated the entire Black Wolf gang, including the leader who had achieved great success in the muscle bone realm. All of this made Wei Xian extremely curious about Lu Qing's strength. Now hearing that Lu Qing was going to demonstrate the stick technique, he was, of course, delighted. Even Mrs. Wei looked on with anticipation. As for Magu, he was even more amazed. To simplify a high-level martial arts technique from the muscle-bone realm was no easy feat. It required a deep understanding and full mastery of the discipline. Brother Lu Qing's earlier modesty was evidently not just modest words. This technique, called one-breath stick technique, is corely about the continuous, unified intent of the moves. Having said that, the stick in Lu Qing's hand swirled like a flipping river dragon, casting shadows of sticks all over the skies. Under the stirring of the long stick, the air currents surged within the cave, the sticks sound whooshing, each strike reverberating through the air with immense force. Feeling the oppressive nature of the stick shadows before him, Wei Ziyan felt overwhelmed, yet his eyes were incredibly bright. Is this the stick technique young Master Lu is going to teach me? As Wei Ziyan murmured to himself, Lu Qing's demonstration reached its final form. His long stick was first drawn back, then rapidly jabbed out, striking 7 times, each creating a booming sound that echoed through the cave. Suddenly, the myriad of stick shadows converged, revealing Lu Qing's calm demeanor. Wei Ziyan was already watching wide-eyed. Even Ma Gu and Mrs. Wei seemed a bit dazed. After a while, Wei Ziyan finally came back to his senses and hastily asked, "Young Master Lu, what do you call that last move?" This move is called 7 stars in a chain. The key is to burst forth continuously within a single breath, demanding high control over chi blood. Mastering this move signifies that you have learned the entire stick technique, Lu Qing replied with a smile. 7 stars in a chain? Wei Ziyan recalled the formidable execution of the move just demonstrated by Lu Qing, and his eyes shone with admiration. "Young Master Lu, I want to learn this stick technique. Teach me, teach me." "Sure, I will now pass on to you the moves and key points of this stick technique." Watching Lu Qing now instructing Wei Ziyan in the stick technique, Ma Gu finally regained his senses, his eyes showing awe. The stick technique that Lu Qing had just displayed was exquisite, filled with vigor. Even he could not find a single flaw. And this, according to Lu Qing, was still a simplified version. How powerful must the original one-breath stick technique be? Brother Lu Qing's strength was truly unfathomable and immeasurable. All right, you have already remembered the key points of the first 2 moves of the one-breath stick technique. Next, as long as you diligently cultivate and fully grasp them, it won't be a problem. Once you are proficient in these 2 moves, I will teach you the remaining ones. Wei Ziyan indeed possessed the talent for martial arts training, as Ma Gu had said. Lu Qing had taught him for half an hour, and he had essentially mastered the first 2 moves of the one-breath stick technique. What was lacking was only the practice. "I understand, Dr. Lu," Wei Ziyan responded loudly. At this moment, he was inexplicably excited. He found that the mnemonic key points Lu Qing explained while teaching the stick technique were very easy to remember. Compared to the enigmatic and obscure mnemonics his father's masters taught at home, these were much simpler and clearer. It made him feel for the first time that martial arts training could be so simple. "All right, then you go ahead and practice on your own." Seeing the excited look on Wei Ziyan's face, Lu Qing shook his head and, after giving an instruction, let him practice on his own. He then walked over to where Ma Gu and his companion were. "Thank you for your hard work, young Master Lu. This is the first time I've seen an heir so enthusiastic about a martial arts skill. Previously at home, whenever his father asked him to practice martial arts, it seemed as though it was torturing him." Watching Wei Ziyan seriously practicing the stick technique, Mrs. Wei expressed her gratitude. The young master's talent in martial arts is quite good. As long as he is willing to sincerely cultivate, his future in martial arts is immeasurable, Lu Qing said with a smile. "I don't really hope for him to achieve much in martial arts. As long as he can defend himself and live on without being bullied, even if the Wei family is gone, I will be completely satisfied," Mrs. Wei sighed. Lu Qing did not speak. He knew that Mrs. Wei was still pessimistic about the calamity that had befallen the Wei family. Indeed, the Wei family's ancestor from the innate realm was still missing, presumed dead. Under such circumstances, facing the oppression of the Tsang sect, anyone would feel despair. "Madam, please take heart. It's been this long, and those people are still searching for you and Ziyan's whereabouts. It seems that back at your residence, they are still holding out. Otherwise, they wouldn't need to expend so much effort to trouble you too." Ma Gu spoke up, reassuring her. Ma Gu's words were not without reason. Upon hearing this, Mrs. Wei's spirit was immediately lifted. "That's true. The house is still holding on. How can I speak of such discouragement here? I'm using you too. No harm done, madam." Your willpower is very strong, something we have seen with our own eyes and greatly admire, Lu Qing said earnestly. Mrs. Wei did not understand martial arts, and her physical fitness was just slightly better than that of an ordinary woman. Having endured such severe injuries before, her will was stronger than many accomplished martial artists. This was something both Lu Qing and Ma Gu highly respected. In the following days, Lu Qing's life returned to its usual calm. It became his regular routine of studying medicine, cultivating, and leisurely fishing, only now, every few days. He would go into the mountains to deliver some living supplies to Ma Gu and his companion, and to check on Wei Xian's progress in his stick technique cultivation. In such leisurely days, Lu Qing's cultivation continued to swiftly advance. On a certain morning more than 10 days later, while practicing in the bamboo forest, his body trembled, and a glint of light flashed in his eyes. Finally, perfect bones and muscles. Feeling the formidable strength concealed within his body, Lu Qing felt somewhat satisfied. Perfect muscle and bone realm. It represented the muscular strength of postnatal realm martial artists reaching one's own limit. Continuing to temper with qi blood could no longer increase it even in the slightest. Even if he broke through to the internal realm, the strength of his muscles and bones wouldn't increase much. Unless there was a great opportunity to obtain some magical spiritual medicine, it might be possible to break the limit again and further strengthen the muscles and bones. But Lu Qing had already consumed Earth Vein Spirit Liquid, which greatly enhanced his own talent. His muscular strength now was several times stronger than that of an ordinary practitioner at the perfection of the muscle and bone realm. Finding spiritual medicine rarer than Earth Vein Spirit Liquid to continue breaking through limits seemed unlikely. What comes next should be to solidify the foundation and then strive to break through to the internal realm. However, the breakthrough in the muscle and bone realm certainly pleased Lu Qing. What made him even more delighted was another breakthrough. Lu Qing picked up a green bamboo leaf and quietly looked at it. At that moment, a bamboo leaf, ordinarily unremarkable to the common eye, appeared very special to him, especially the patterns on it, which carried a different implication. After so long, I finally understood the basics of the rune path. Gently turning the bamboo leaf in his hand, Lu Qing revealed a smile. It was only at the moment of attaining perfection in the muscle and bone realm, leveraging that perfect state of mind, that he had an epiphany which made him break through the rune path, which had been at a bottleneck for some time. The 300 mysterious runes in his mind were all deciphered for a trace of implication and could be correlated with patterns in the real world. Truth be told, since obtaining the Divine Talisman Sect inheritance, Lu Qing had practiced the rune path for quite some time. It could be considered the most difficult technique among all the inheritances he had received. Even with the aid of superpower, it still took him so much time to truly get started. These days, he observed all kinds of things in daily life. Pots, bowls, ladles, stones, leaves, flowers, weeds, gold, silver, jewels. Anything he could see, he would try to observe from a perspective of calming the mind and cleansing the heart. The more he observed, the deeper Lu Qing's understanding of the 300 mysterious runes and the summary of the runes became. Gradually, a subtle insight began to form in his heart, accumulating slowly. But this insight had reached a bottleneck not long ago, and no longer progressed. Lu Qing could feel that he was only one step away from truly starting the rune path. But that step remained elusive. The inheritance left by the Divine Talisman Sect stated that this step had to be comprehended by oneself. Because the rune path is ever-changing and contains the supreme truth of the universe. Every practitioner of the rune path has their unique insights and understanding of the connection between runes and the universe. Adhering too rigidly to the experiences of predecessors might instead become a restraint and hinder future cultivation. This was why Lu Qing had been stuck on this step for so long. Now, leveraging the breakthrough in the martial arts realm and the realization during the transformation of qi blood and muscles, he inadvertently opened the massive gate of the rune path. It was my narrow view. The first mantra of the Divine Talisman Sect legacy demands the disciple to regard all things in the universe as teachers. I only observed external objects and forgot that humans themselves are also part of all things. Living creatures themselves are the most magical and unbelievable existence among all things in the universe. Without understanding the mysteries of life, how could one sketch a spirit talisman with a soul? Of course, sketching a spirit talisman with a soul, this almost divine technique, isn't something that an ordinary rune practitioner could master. Even within the Divine Talisman Sect's legacy, this was treated merely as a lofty pursuit. Presently, it was even less likely for Lu Qing to comprehend such profound mysteries. He only had an epiphany about the mysteries in qi blood flow and flesh transformation during his own breakthrough, feeling inspired, and thus started on the rune path. He still hadn't mastered even the simplest runes, let alone sketching a spirit talisman. However, now that I've started on the rune path, I can finally cultivate the secret technique mentioned in the inheritance. Lu Qing's eyes shimmered with a faint light. Within the Divine Talisman Sect Legacy, there was a special secret technique that allowed cultivators who hadn't achieved postnatal realm perfection boost divine soul power. But this secret technique also had its cultivation prerequisites. 1. The cultivator's physical condition must at least reach the muscle and bone realm level. This was necessary to withstand the stress of the divine soul during refinement. 2. The cultivator must have started the rune path, and their heart and spirit must be strong to a certain extent. Only when these two conditions are met, and protected by a rare treasure liquid such as Earth Vein Spirit Liquid, can one cultivate the secret technique. Thus, although the Divine Talisman Sect's secret technique allows cultivators to cultivate divine soul power prematurely, the conditions for its cultivation are equally stringent. It's nearly as difficult as cultivating to perfection in the internal realm. Fortunately, Lu Qing now met all the conditions. Seeing that it was still early in the day, Lu Qing thought for a moment and then set out with Little Li to the mountains. Before long, the two, a man and a little beast, arrived at the valley where the Jade Cave was located. Looking at the valley filled with the chirping of birds and fragrance of flowers, Lu Qing's mind drifted momentarily. Since he had left the valley last time, this was his first return. When he had left, he was still a Qi blood realm martial artist. Now upon returning, he had reached perfection in the muscle bone realm. His strength had increased immeasurably. One major reason for such a rapid enhancement in his strength was largely attributed to the opportunities he had discovered in the cave. Standing before Li Weiqian's grave, he paid his simple respects, and then Lu Qing took Little Li and leapt into the cave behind the waterfall. Inside the Jade Cave, everything was the same as when he had left, unchanged. However, Lu Qing looked at the runes in the cave and felt differently about them. The last time he hadn't yet begun to study the rune path, and while he found the runes on the cave walls mysterious and profound, he couldn't decipher their secrets. Now that he had entered the doorway of the rune path, looking at these runes ignited various insights in his mind. He felt a sense of awe as if gazing up at towering peaks. The mysterious being who had created the Jade Cave was indeed profoundly inscrutable in the ways of runes. Discover more stories at my virtual library Empire. Standing in front of the cave wall for a long time, Lu Qing felt like he'd gained substantial insights in the rune path, stepping truly into its grand gateway. It seemed that going forward, he would need to return to this cave for further elucidation. Lu Qing secretly decided. He casually pushed open the hidden door of the cave and entered the dark room where Li Weiqian had passed away. Inside, everything was the same as before. Little Li, guard the outside for me and protect me while I cultivate for a while, and let no one disturb me, Lu Qing instructed Little Li. The secret technique in the inheritance was risky to practice and highly sensitive to disturbances. Though the Jade Cave was hidden and unlikely to be visited by anyone, Lu Qing still prudently asked Little Li to protect him, ensuring absolute safety. Seeing Little Li nod seriously, Lu Qing felt reassured and closed the door of the dark room. Then, he sat down cross-legged on the stone bed where Li Weiqian had once sat, slowly regulating his breathing. After getting his body into optimal condition, a jade bottle appeared in his hand. It was the same bottle he had taken when he left, filled with Earth Vein Spirit Liquid. Without hesitation, Lu Qing poured a drop of the Earth Vein Spirit Liquid into his mouth. The spiritual liquid transformed into a vast and vibrant exotic energy inside him. Lu Qing dared not delay and immediately began practicing the technique in the scripture, circulating his qi blood in a peculiar trajectory towards the acupoint between his eyebrows. As the qi blood surged, Lu Qing's face swiftly turned red, especially between his eyebrows, which seemed nearly ready to bleed. However, his expression remained calm as he controlled the surging qi and blood power with potent control abilities. This was a very dangerous practice, for the acupoint at the forehead is vital and should not be damaged lightly. Fortunately, since his saber technique realm had reached the postnatal grandmaster level and he had understood the fine balance of harmony and strength, he had excellent control over his body. He could manage his qi blood precisely, refining the acupoint with the secrets detailed in the secret technique. During the refining process, the bizarre vital energy from the Earth Vein Spirit Liquid constantly flowed into the acupoint, nourishing and stabilizing this mysterious location. Throughout this process, Lu Qing carefully controlled the qi blood, not allowing any lapses in concentration. Nevertheless, after a while, he still made an error. The controlled qi blood veered slightly off course, causing injury to the acupoint at the forehead, nearly leading to a collapse. Luckily, the bizarre energy from the earth vein spirit liquid fiercely protected the acupoint, preventing it from collapsing. It also quickly repaired the injury, restoring it to its original state. Feeling these changes, Lu Qing sighed in relief. This was the perilous aspect of the secret technique. The human brain is extremely delicate. Even martial artists are no exception. Even powerful experts of the inner organs realm would not dare to recklessly direct their qi and blood power towards their heads, because damage to the brain could lead to unimaginable consequences. At the least, one could be paralyzed or become an idiot. At worst, it could be fatal. Lu Qing would never dare to practice this secret technique if he didn't have the earth vein spirit liquid at hand. With this experience, Lu Qing became even more cautious as he polished the acupoint between his eyebrows. In this highly focused state, Lu Qing's heart and spirit were quickly drained. However, he remained calm and persevered. Before long, he felt the vital energy within him start to weaken. Without hesitation, he immediately opened the jade bottle and poured another drop of earth vein spiritual liquid into his mouth. With the addition of this drop of spiritual liquid, his spirits lifted and he continued his cultivation. In this manner, Lu Qing persistently followed the secret technique's mental method, circulating his qi blood and polishing the acupoint. Whenever the energy of the earth vein spiritual liquid faded, he would pour another drop into his mouth. After an indeterminate amount of time, when Lu Qing had consumed the fifth drop of earth vein spiritual liquid and its energy was more than half depleted, he finally felt an invisible sound resonate in his mind. It was as if an egg had cracked, and the acupoint between his eyebrows was finally opened by him. With this opening, Lu Qing felt as if the whole world had changed. However, before he could deeply experience this change, the remaining vital energy within him, along with all his qi blood power, rushed into the newly opened acupoint. A wave of weakness surged from within Lu Qing. He dared not delay and immediately poured 3 more drops of spiritual liquid from the jade bottle and swallowed them. These 3 drops of earth vein spiritual liquid quickly transformed into vital energy, replenishing the deficit in Lu Qing's body. The rest continued to be incessantly infused into the acupoint between his eyebrows. It was unclear how such a small acupoint could contain so much energy. In this way, under the continuous supply of vital energy, a peculiar power slowly began to form in the acupoint between Lu Qing's eyebrows. When this peculiar power manifested, Lu Qing's body shuddered. As if blessed by divine insight, without thinking, he poured all his heart and spirit into the acupoint, merging with the peculiar power. Then, with a boom, he entered a strange state. In a daze, unaware of how much time had passed, Lu Qing slowly opened his eyes. His eyes revealed a look of enlightenment. Is this the divine soul power? It truly is astonishing. At that moment, in the acupoint between Lu Qing's eyebrows, a lively and peculiar divine soul power was slowly moving. Compared to the spacious acupoint, it seemed so insignificant. But it was this strand of divine soul power, cultivated from much earth vein spiritual liquid and fraught with danger, that was exceedingly precious. And this strand of divine soul power did not disappoint Lu Qing. At this moment, the world seen through his eyes had transformed. Is this what Master referred to as the heaven and earth primordial qi? Sensing the subtle energy flow around him, Lu Qing realized this was probably what his master had referred to as heaven and earth primordial qi. However, his divine soul power was still weak and could not clearly sense these energies. Moreover, since his physical body had not yet cultivated to postnatal perfection and his qi acupoints were not relaxed, he could not induce energy into his body and directly achieve innate. However, after cultivating the divine soul power, Lu Qing also felt a much tighter connection between his heart and spirit and his physical body, which significantly enhanced his control over his body, likely surpassing even those at the internal realm. At this rate, the day he would break through to the internal realm might come even sooner. Of course, these changes were secondary. The truly important transformation, which Lu Qing valued the most after cultivating the divine soul power, was that he could finally commence the genuine cultivation of the rune path. The first step in cultivating the rune path was to stabilize the mind, cleanse the heart, sense the essence of all things, discern the commonalities among the various textures of the world. and verify these against the runes in the master guideline to find the opportune moment for entry. Once past the entry stage, the second step involved genuine rune cultivation. And for this step, divine soul power was absolutely indispensable. Now, Lu Qing had finally met this requirement. Bear, how is it? Has Yuhua returned? In a certain residence in the county, Wang Song's face was grim. He had sent his second disciple out on an errand, but the disciple had simply vanished without a trace. He thought it was because the boy couldn't complete the task and didn't dare to come back to see him. After all, his second disciple always liked to take shortcuts in his work, always scheming. But now, he had a bad feeling. No news of the junior brother, not even the members of the small faction he had subjugated have returned, but the people who went out to search brought back this. The first disciple, a burly man, also wore an ugly expression at this moment. He produced a slender piece of jade. What is this? Wang Song did not quite understand why his first disciple had brought out this piece of jade. This piece of white jade, known as corundum, is unique to the northern border. It is produced near our Tian Song sect. The fan bone of the jade fan that the second disciple usually carries is made of this corundum. Moreover, there were numerous bloodstains found around the area where this piece of the fan bone was discovered. Also, several miles away, our people found a large pit containing some remains that had not been completely burned to ashes. The burly disciple explained. What are you saying? Wang Song's heart sank suddenly. I suspect that the junior brother has met with an accident, and it's likely that the small faction he took with him also did not survive, the burly disciple speculated. Actually, from the information brought back by those who were sent out, he felt this guess was very close to the truth. Otherwise, not even if he had the audacity, would he dare to stay away so long without reporting back. Good, very good. Wang Song's face was dark, his body quivering with rage. Who exactly is it, to have such a grudge against me, Wang Song? To kill several of my disciples, do they really take me for someone they can mold as they wish? Feeling the terrifying evil chi radiating from the master, the burly disciple's heart also chilled. He knew the master was truly enraged. Master, what should we do now? The Wei family has been stubbornly resistant and refuses to surrender. Meanwhile, there's this mysterious force watching us covetously. Shall we continue to drag this out? In fact, the burly disciple felt stifled as well. Their Tian Song sect had a loud reputation in the northern border. Anyone who heard their name would fear them by three parts and dare not be enemies. Yet, in this remote little place, they had been repeatedly thwarted. Several junior brothers had died in unclear circumstances, and they didn't even know who the murderer was. Such a huge loss had never been suffered by their Tian Song sect before. What's there to drag out? If we continue dragging this out, I'm afraid that one day, even you might fall. Wang Song spoke with an icy tone. Since someone is breaking the rules, wanting to reap the benefits of a fisherman, then don't blame me for flipping the table. Bear, prepare the troops immediately. We're attacking the Wei Mansion. Today, I want to completely level the Wei Mansion. But Master, without the second and third disciple now, we lack sufficient combat power from the internal realm, and probably aren't strong enough to break through the Wei family's Silver Moon battle formation, the burly disciple said anxiously. It doesn't matter. I will lend a hand when necessary. That Silver Moon battle formation is nothing to fear, Wang Song said coldly. Master, if you make a move, what about the sacred prohibition from the Holy Mountain? The burly disciple gasped with shock. If it was anywhere else, they might have been able to kill others and destroy evidence, to leave no proof. But this was the county. With the county lord mansion present, clearly, they would not be able to escape the observation of everyone. Now that it has come to this, do you still think we should retreat? What of the sacred prohibition? At worst, after this matter, I will go to the Holy Mountain and imprison myself for 10 years. Stop wasting words and immediately do as I say. Wang Song had to obtain the treasure of the Wei family. As long as he could obtain that treasure, even being imprisoned for 10 years would be worth it to him. The burly great Han, hearing his master's words, knew his mind was made up, and it would be difficult to dissuade him. I must obey, the disciple said. Yes, master, I will prepare now. After the senior disciple left, Wang Songi looked up at the sky, his eyes filled with resolute determination. No matter who you are, if you think you can take advantage of me, Wang Songi, we'll have to see if you have the skill. Brother Wang, have you truly decided? At this moment, a voice sounded. An old man with white hair and a ruddy complexion walked out from within. Clearly, he had heard the conversation between Wang Songi and his disciple. Yes, I asked for Brother Zhao's assistance. Wang Cangyi seemed not at all surprised by the presence of the red-faced elder. Instead, he sincerely requested his help. So be it, the red-faced elder sighed. Although I do not approve of your behavior of killing for treasure, I owe you my life after all. This time, let's say I'm repaying you with my life. Brother Zhao, you're too serious. Inside the Wei family, only family head Wei Xinghe has achieved the perfection of the inner organs realm. With your help and my son's, defeating him will be as easy as lifting a hand. The red-faced elder shook his head, saying nothing more. If it were that easy, Wang Cangyi wouldn't have delayed for so long. He could have attacked the Wei family directly upon his arrival. Evidently, the Wei family's reliance was not so simple. The burly disciple was highly efficient. Soon, a large group of martial artists gathered in the courtyard of the residence. Master, everyone has been assembled, the burly disciple reported. Good, Wang Cangyi murmured, and then turned to the red-faced elder, Brother Zhao. I'm in your debt. Before long, a large number of martial artists set out from the residence, pressing towards the Wei mansion. Such a commotion naturally could not escape the notice of the attentive in the city. At the county lord mansion, the middle-aged man with phoenix eyes, upon hearing his subordinate's report, felt a shiver in his heart. So, it's finally happening? Read the latest on my virtual library empire in recent days. The county had been very quiet. So quiet that he almost believed the mastermind behind the scenes had given up. Quickly, summon Ji Rue. Lord County Master, Lord Ji Rue is not in his room. Hearing Ji Rue was not there, the man with phoenix eyes felt his heart sink, knowing that this time, it was going to be for real. His figure flashed, and he vanished from the courtyard, rushing towards the exterior of the mansion. At that moment, dozens of martial artists had already assembled outside the Wei mansion. Wei Xinghe, I'm giving you one last chance. Will you surrender or not? The burly Great Han stood at the forefront. His booming voice demanded. Ha ha ha. I've already answered that question long ago. The Wei family has those who die in battle, not those who surrender. Wei Xinghe's voice came from within the mansion. Fine, since you're so stubbornly resistant, don't blame us for being ruthless. The burly Great Han had anticipated this response. He appeared solemn, lifting his hand high, then swinging it down. Kill. Leave no one alive in the Wei family. Yes. As soon as his voice fell, several burly men, wielding heavy meteor hammers, stepped forward. They swung their meteor hammers swiftly, gathering all their strength before violently throwing them forward. The target was the stately and solemn vermilion gate of the Wei mansion. Boom. With the powerful impact, the gate of the Wei mansion came crashing down. In Song County, the Wei family. In the past, the Wei mansion, esteemed and feared by all, was now in complete chaos, blood everywhere. Many bodies lay on the ground, lifeless. Just a quarter of an hour ago, they were robust martial artists, full of vigor and vitality. Inside the spacious front courtyard of Wei mansion, two groups of people were confronting each other. A burly man watched the scene before him with an expressionless face. Among those lying on the ground were his men as well as the Wei mansion's Silver Moon Guards. These were the remnants of their first clash when they had stormed in. The Wei family's Silver Moon battle formation was indeed formidable. Although his men were generally of higher cultivation than the Silver Moon Guards, experienced tales with my virtual library empire when it came to a real fight, his side suffered more, with more casualties. Wei Xinghe, you really have something. Your Wei family's Silver Moon battle formation indeed lives up to its reputation, the burly man couldn't help but explain. Despite being enemies, he had to admit the prowess of the Wei family's Silver Moon battle formation. A few people could form a formation, their chi connected to each other, coordinated silently, as one entity. Even when facing an enemy a level stronger than themselves, they could still fight. Such a sophisticated battle formation, he wondered where the Wei family had acquired it from. Even their Tian Song sect did not possess such a powerful formation. You flatter us, it's just a minor formation, not worthy of a grandmaster of the internal realm with perfection like yourself, replied the Wei family patriarch indifferently. He looked at the fallen Silver Moon Guards on the ground, a trace of sorrow in his eyes. It wasn't easy to train each of the Silver Moon Guards in the mansion. Many were personally selected by him and had grown up under his watch since their youth. Seeing them dead now, how could his heart not ache? But even if your Wei family's Silver Moon battle formation is powerful, it can't stop so many of us. Wei Xinghe, do you really want to watch Wei Mansion be leveled to the ground, sparing neither chicken nor dog? As long as you hand over the treasure, I promise you, I'll immediately take my men and leave Wei Mansion in Song County. How about that? The burly man said. Do you think I am a 3-year-old child to trust the words of a man who leads a horde of villains storming my Wei Mansion? Scoffed Wei Xinghe. If that's the case, then it's such a pity, the burly man said regretfully. If possible, he truly did not wish to have a mutually destructive fight with the Wei family. The majority of the people they had brought were from the external forces of the Tiansong sect. But if the losses were too great, even his master, who was an esteemed elder in the sect, could not avoid being held responsible. Now it seemed this battle was inevitable. The burly man turned and respectfully bowed to an elderly man with a ruddy face behind him. Mr. Zhao, please lend me a hand. Ah, why must it come to this? The ruddy-faced elder sighed and stepped forward. Don't worry, leave this Wei family patriarch to me. After you break their battle formation, join forces to capture him. Wei Xinghe's heart sank as he saw the ruddy-faced elder step forward. From the aura emitted by the man, he knew this was another Grandmaster-level expert in the inner organs realm of perfection. Although he was prepared, knowing the enemy would come prepared, the moment he saw the ruddy-faced elder step forward, Wei Xinghe couldn't help but feel a heavy weight in his heart. Now, however, there was nothing he could do but to meet soldiers with generals and water with earth. Family headway, let us have a little spar, said the ruddy-faced elder decisively. No sooner had his words fallen did he, utilizing some unknown movement technique, suddenly appear in front of Wei Xinghe and lightly strike out with his palm. Though the palm seemed gentle, in Wei Xinghe's heart arose a very dangerous premonition. He could not afford to be careless, and immediately flipped his arm forward to block. Boom. Wei Xinghe's block did not seem fast and appeared very sluggish. But when their arms collided, a muffled sound erupted, and a powerful chi force burst from around them. The bluestone slabs they were standing on shattered inch by inch, spreading outward. The entire front courtyard shook, incredibly horrifying. Many martial artists in the courtyard, upon witnessing this terrifying scene, looked on with shock. Two martial arts experts at the inner organs perfection had just clashed and exhibited such tremendous power. Such was the terror of a grandmaster. How formidable, the Mian Palm. Wei Xinghe stepped back several paces, exhaled a breath of turbid air, and said in a deep voice, "The Wei family master's boxing is equally extraordinary." The elder with the ruddy face similarly exclaimed. Wei Xinghe looked at the ruddy-faced elder with a solemn expression. The clash had let him know that this elder's realm and strength were not beneath him. To not be defeated, he could only give it his all. "Ahai, I'll leave the rest to you," Wei Xinghe instructed. "Yes, master." Standing behind him, the Grand Steward in silver armor responded. "Then let Wei witness your superior skills once again." This time, it was Wei Xinghe who took the initiative to strike. He moved with the grandeur of a dragon and a tiger, stepping forward, and in an instant, he was in front of the ruddy-faced elder, like a flood dragon emerging from a cave, throwing a punch at him. As the punch was thrown, a fierce wind arose. Before the fist even reached, the powerful punch wind already flapped the elder's clothes sharply. Facing this awe-inspiring punch, the ruddy-faced elder merely smiled lightly. His palms gently entwined towards Wei Xinghe's arms, appearing soft but, like a dragon-binding rope, they hid lethal intentions wanting to break Wei Xinghe's arms. Wei Xinghe saw the ingeniousness of this move, yet he was undaunted.